Good morning, everybody. Let me just make sure that this is working real quick. All right. Sounds good. All right. I just had to make sure I could hear myself real quick. Welcome. Good morning. Good morning, Anne and Leah and Cowboy and whoever else might be lurking. Um, wanted to present a little bit today discussing what's called moral foundations theory. Hence my let me put it on real quick to overlay my elephant and my golden potato riding him. Um, so be mostly me talking. I'll show some like pictures and stuff along the way, but I felt like this was a good topic to talk about because moral psychology and moral foundations theory speaks to how and why we think the way we do and interact the way we do. And I think that the more we understand how we think, the better we can have quality conversations and not fall into the traps of being driven by our emotional side, um, which is a reference to the elephant and rider that I based today's little background and the cover overlay whatever on, which we will talk about in a bit. So I hope everybody had their coffee. I hope everybody's had a good week. I apologize for making people that are West Coast people think a little bit early in the morning. Um, if anybody's watching this on replay, probably do about an hour of chatting and then open up the panel. So the first hour or so will be the information portion. Good morning, Gutter. Look, we could run a entire RV off of your passion. But anyways, so this is based off of the work of somebody named Jonathan Haidt. He is a moral psychologist, social psychologist, that deals with things like ethics and whatnot. And he teaches at NYU and is a researcher. He's written 4 books that have been published. The stuff we're going to talk about today is mostly based off of his first 2 books, The Happiness Hypothesis and The Righteous Mind. He then wrote 2 books about kind of raising kids in the age of social media. One called The Coddling of the American Mind, talking about how kind of the helicopter generation has impacted how kids think and how we raise them, and has taken away a lot of agency from kids learning to grow up. And then his newest book called The Anxious Generation, which I have not read, but I have a copy of it sitting on my shelf to the books to get to, which talks about more smartphones and social media and how it's impacting mental health. Good morning, Becca. Good morning. I think I said hi to Gigi. Good morning, Anne. Yeah. So, you'll hear people often refer to Jonathan Haidt and his quote elephant rider analogy, which we'll discuss as the second half of this. Let me share this screen real quick. Okay. So, um, historically, people talked about moral development based on a guy named Kohlberg, who said that we go through 6 stages of development as we age. So he broke it down into 3 kind of stages with like a total of 6 sub stages. Um, and he kind of looked at it from an aging standpoint. So from his sort of moral philosophy, what he talked about is that you have this first level down here at the bottom, um, which is making moral decisions based on, and making decisions based on things like self-interest and avoiding punishment. He called this the pre-conventional morality phase, which he said, was basically from the ages of 3 to 7. And it was characterized by obedience to authority and self-interest. And there isn't, kind of a larger way of approaching moral ideas and being more nuanced with them. Um, so he talks about the focus in it is about avoiding punishment, and the behaviors are that a child in that stage would exemplify are behaviors that avoid punishment. So they make decisions based on what authority figures like parents or teachers tell them. The old school idea of if your kid misbehaves, you smack them or whatever. Um, and so this is a level of morality that's based on direct determinism of consequences for actions. Um, in stage two, he talks about the self-interest part, which he calls individualism and exchange, where you're choosing the correct behaviors based on equal exchange of what benefits you mostly. And there are people that argue that, in a lot of ways, most people in our society have not gotten past the first, 4 stages here. So the next stage that we talk about is level two, which is conventional morality, where people learn to conform to social norms and fulfill sort of the roles within society to maintain social order. Um, an example of this is call it the good boy or good girl orientation. So, you're meeting people's expectations so they think well of you and treat you better. But again, it's still self-serving way of approaching ideas. Um, and at that level, that's where something like the golden rule comes in, which is treating people like you want to be treated, being the important driver. Um, it's all about seeking approval and avoiding disapproval. And then the other side of it he talks about is law, order, and morality, which is focused on maintaining social order. So you're doing a duty to society and thus yourself. And so righteous behaviors are behaviors that contribute to society and respect authority. Like I say, we see a lot of people, especially kind of more towards, I think, well, I see it on both sides of the political aisle, but I think you see people on that can't think past the um, sort of idea of humanism and what does the most for the best people. I'm watching chat, so if people have like questions or if I'm going too quick and you want me to slow down, let me know. Good morning, Mouse. So from there, we get into what's called the adult phase of moral development and moral thinking, which is what they consider post-conventional morality, which is building actual ethical principles and basing your decision making off of that. So you understand and you incorporate the social contract, like is on this the hierarchy here that we're looking at. You understand the laws and that how to use them to improve society or change society. From a behavior standpoint, morality becomes more than just following the laws. And it's about integrating and understanding the value of the laws and the validity of them to incorporate them or change them to the betterment of society. Um, and this is where you see kind of the focus in society building and on moral development, on individual rights, democratic process, and fairness outside of necessarily the direct letter of the law. And then above that is building universal ethical principles, which can be individualized or socialized. Um, but people tend to pick sort of their ethical principles. I've described myself before as being very much the Stoic philosophy. Other people have other ethical principles that drive them. You see people who focus on equality or justice, or now in our more modern interpretations, things like equity, which has its own fair share of problems. People that are focused on human rights. But this is about building a universal system uh, for approaching ideas and approaching how we think. So Haidt came in and built up his own set of moral principles that were similar to this, and there are criticisms of him that say that need to be expanded even further. Um, but his critique was essentially that the paradigm that I just went through is not universal, and it is not taking into account the fact that societies and individual personal beliefs that are driven by underlying uh, personality types and sets of thought processes and reasonings are what drive the way people approach this. So Jonathan Haidt came up with this six foundation-based moral theory, where he uses foundations of care harm, fairness cheating, loyalty betrayal, authority subversion, sanctity degradation, and liberty and oppression. So this is from his book, the uh, the Righteous Mind, and so he went through, and the book is talking about his research on these principles, and we'll go through what each of these are in a minute. But basically, what he was saying is that human beings are born with innate moral intuitions, which he calls these moral foundations, and they're due to evolutionary adaptations that allowed us to survive as ancient humans and build social groups. Um, and then the other side of his basic premise is that we're not really thinking people at our core; we're emotionally driven at our core. Um, and so primarily the emotions that drive us are either social emotions or interpersonal emotions. Things like empathy, guilt, shame, disgust, rather than uh, just what society tells us may be right. And so individuals with these emotions allowed us to encourage cooperation, to punish things like free riding, and to maintain social bonds. And there are things like twin studies that show that these sort of moral attitudes are genetically ingrained and pre-exist society, basically. Now, there are people that have argued that those twin studies, don't account for nature versus nurture and whatnot. But that's a kind of story for another day if people wanted to look into this more. Um, the other side of it is, like I was saying, nature versus nurture, is that the way we pass these ideas along are through cultural, like moral norm teaching, like myths, stories, religious customs, religious teaching, stuff like that. And I know I've talked about this before, but this is one of the things that I see is uh, a constant push from our leadership class to undermine those historical cultural norms that have drawn us together. Um, so this is the moral matrix that I have up on the screen. So, like I was saying, Haidt goes through uh, the six principles for moral foundations. Others have added some more to them. I can give you guys some resources if people want to look into that more, read into it more. Um, Make that a little bigger, see if that works. So for care harm, you're talking about things like compassion, nurture versus cruelty. Um, for fairness and cheating, uh, foundation, you're talking about things like justice, rights, autonomy. Um, on liberty or loyalty betrayal, you're talking about things like patriotism, group solidarity or disloyalty. In anarchy and subversion. You're talking about things like respect for tradition, leadership versus rebellion. I know we have a lot of leading towards subversion the last few years in our communities because of kind of a sense that the uh, leadership needed to be rebelled against. So these are fluid things; they're not, hard set in stone, and do and again, that's one of the criticisms is that these ideas are influenced by the society that you live in and the values that you hold. And sanctity and degradation is things about like purity and disgust. This is where religion plays in a lot. The idea of respecting the sacred versus desecrating sacred things. And then you have liberty and oppression, which talks about freedom and resistance to tyranny or control, things like that. So Jonathan Haidt and his research partners did a bunch of studies looking at how people uh, approach these things from a political standpoint. And so this picture I'm showing is from his book. And so what he found is that in the liberal and people that identify as on the left politically in the West, they heavily weight their moral matrix towards things like care harm, liberty oppression, and fairness cheating. They don't have strong opinions or beliefs in respecting authority or having things that are valued that are have sanctity to them. They don't care about being loyal to their in group or things like that, or to their or to other individuals. They primarily care about who's being harmed, and so we see this exemplified by the equity principle um, being pushed by the progressives and the education sector and things like that, where they boil every issue down to who is the victim and who is not. And so you see this where it doesn't really matter what the issue that they're discussing is. They have to approach it from one group is the oppressor and one group is the oppressed. This is heavily weighting towards the care harm, where they find a perspective on who is being harmed and they must be right in what they do. This is why you see bedfellows being made between the like trans LGBTQ lobby and the Islamists. Sorry, I'm just pulling up a picture for emphasis, but there was the this always I found hilarious to me, but the like gays for Gaza and things like that you saw marching around um when all this stuff was going has been or is going on in the Middle East. um Loading real quick. So, just Google image, but solidarity with Muslim LGBTQ, or there was like the gays for Gaza marching stuff, queers for Palestine, um, you know, gays for Gaza, queers for a free Palestine. Like at the same time, these I can show you stories of the same group of people in Hamas, in Gaza, pushing people off of roofs or killing people because of the idea that they might be having, homosexual relations. Um, so there's no consistency on some level to these, approaches because of how we weight our moral foundations. In his in his research, he found, excuse me, sorry for coughing into the mic. In here, he finds that the social conservatives tend to have a more even weighted moral matrix, where they weighted all of the different um, frameworks relatively equally. Um, they have reverence for sanctity and history and authority, while also caring about fairness and things like that. And I think you see this exemplified in the J6 defendants, where the people that, at least that I've talked to on the right, tend to say, look, they might have done something bad, but they should be treated fairly by the judicial system. Whereas I see people on the left going, insurrection, insurrection, throw them in, the solitary and throw away the key. Um, and then you have the libertarians who they pretty much only care about the liberty oppression matrix and fairness. They don't care deeply in the testing about who's being harmed. They just care about maximizing what they see as lack of oppression from a government and freedoms. Um, so Haidt talks about how in our own worlds we are trying to be the we are being right per se, or need to justify ourselves as being right. So we're driven by these things. And what he chalks this up to is something that he calls the one brain, two mind elephant and rider analogy. So, in this analogy, the elephant represents our unconscious, intuitive moral judgments, like I was just talking about going through. And it's emotional, it's instinctual, and responds to things without, thinking. Whereas the rider represents our controlled and rational thought processes. Um, and reasoning side of our brain that allows us to influence the elephant. But really, what he argues goes on is that the rider often justifies the elephant. So the reason he uses an elephant and a rider as the analogy is because realistically, you can't control where the elephant goes. The elephant is a massive lumbering animal that has a mind of its own, and a rider can only suggest to the elephant where to go. Um, so generally, what he talks about is that the unconscious mind, the elephant, drives our decision making, and then we justify it after the fact. So you can meet somebody and for some unconscious reason not like them, or have an issue with them, and then your conscious mind will put in effort to justifying why you don't like them, or why they are dangerous. Uh, and what Haidt talks about in his two books that I've been referencing are ways in which we can, by being more consciously aware of this stuff, try to limit our elephant's power. You have the old advice from like your grandfather or whatever about counting to 10 before you react to things and taking deep breaths and whatnot. These are all mechanisms for allowing your brain to catch up, and allowing your conscious mind to control you as opposed to your unconscious elephant. Um, so I know that was pretty quick. I had a couple of other studies that I kind of looked in that I think are interesting. You may have seen this screenshot going around on Twitter if you're a Twitter person. I don't know if it made it onto other social media. But so this was going around, and this is from a study that they did with conservatives and liberals. And let's see if I can make this a little bigger here. The all right, yeah, that's better. So these are heat maps. So they went to the different people, and they said to them, "We're going to give you a list, 1 through 16 of how large your quote unquote circle is." And uh, okay, I'm gonna have to make it like that so I can read the bottom of it. I don't know why it's sharing both of the tabs I had open, but anyways, um, so on the left you have the conservatives, on the right you have the liberals, and so what they did is they said you have a finite amount of points that you can apply to each group that's listed here. And then they built heat maps based on where most people would put their points. And so what they said to them is that you should put the points on what your highest moral group that you apply your that you agree like is part of your group. So the circle starts from the smallest, where number one is your immediate family, number two is your extended family, number three is your closest friends, number four is all of your friends, including distant ones, all your internet people, I guess. Number five is all of your acquaintances. Number six is anybody you've ever met. Number seven is all the people in your country. Number eight is all the people on your continent. Number nine is people on all continents. Number 10 is all mammals. Number 11 is all amphibians, reptiles, mammals, fish, and birds. 12 is all animals on Earth, including amoebas and microscopic animals. And then 13 is all animals in the universe, including alien life forms. 14 is all living things in the universe, including plants and trees. And number 15 is all natural things in the universe, including inert things like rocks. And number 16 is all of existence. And so what they found is that people that are conservative tend to place moral value on the highest level being in somewhere the range between your friends and family to your countrymen. Whereas liberals were putting the moral weight on everything up to all life forms in the universe, including plants and trees, that number 14, 15 range. And this is why it's not surprising that when it comes to arguments about things like the border, you see a lot of liberal arguments being that the United States or a sovereign nation is irrelevant, and it's about all of humanity. It's this humanistic standpoint. We also see this similarly when you talk about things like climate change or green power and whatnot. Instead of approaching it from a humanist standpoint and discussing what is the best for human flourishing or for your own society to flourish, the approach from the left tends to be, what impacts the most people overall, at infinitum, what impacts all living things, including animals. Not to say, like I have a problem with animals. You guys know that I got, my little buddy Baxter running around all the time and demanding his stuff. And, he's clearly part of my family. And I care about, animals too. But ultimately, from a moral standpoint, you have to put limits. And there's like this interesting book, on the climate change stuff called The Moral Case for Fossil Fuels that I read a few years back that they updated. But the basic argument in there is that the left's approach to climate change and how to deal with it is about minimizing human impact on the world, not about what allows the most humans to flourish. And for example, when it comes to having premature children or health outcomes, they talk about how like we talk in our OSHA training at work about how the thing that must be maintained in any crisis is the power generation because of vital life support systems and things like that. And then you come along and you have people who are arguing that we need to diminish the amount of power that we have access to and increase the cost, which directly impacts people in things like third world countries and their ability to flourish on a human level. If you don't have power to go to an incubator, children don't survive that are premature. If you don't have power for ventilators or things like that, people that are in ICUs don't survive. And yet you have this whole push from a large portion of society saying, well, that's irrelevant. It doesn't matter what, these people survive, don't survive. What matters is that we don't get a, maybe 1% degree or 1 degree in temperature increase that might affect water levels slightly, when the reality seems to be that these things are primarily outside of human control. And while we can influence them slightly, we should be, from my perspective, and maybe this is why I tend to lean conservative, we should be pushing for human flourishing, not for, some arbitrary requirements so that we don't influence the natural environment. And the other thing that's crazy to me, not to go on too much of a tangent about but about power stuff, is that you have all these people pushing for green power or whatever, and they hate nuclear, and yet nuclear produces less waste and significantly more power. And by all accounts, the newer generations of nuclear power are safe, and it's a much. You okay, Baxter? Okay, sorry, he was choking or something. But by all accounts, well, dude, that's what happens when you just swallow your treat instead of chewing on it. But by all accounts, we have better options than solar or wind power, and yet they double down on it because they're not coming at it from a human flourishing perspective. They're coming at it from a environmental perspective. And then, so this was an interesting study. I can, share it if people are interested. And then let me share one more thing here that I think is interesting from a standpoint of all this kind of social group and moral understanding. So this is from a study that was done about how people rate other groups besides themselves on a racial level. And if I remember correctly, this is a study that was done on Americans back in 2000 or 2021 or 2020 or 2021. And when they and this can help to explain why you see a lot of interracial issues. So when they went to white respondents, they asked, how you feel about blacks, how you feel about whites, how you feel about Hispanics, how you feel about Asians. They went to each of these individual groups. And as you can see here on the top left, white respondents basically, rated everybody about the same. They see everybody similarly. When you come to the Hispanics, they, rate whites really low. They rate blacks and Asians in the middle, and they, rate Hispanics up higher. And then, you come to blacks, and it's the same sort of thing, except blacks are at the top. Obviously, still whites are at the bottom, and Asians and Hispanics are somewhere in the middle. And then you come to Asians, and it's similar again. They rate Asians very high, whites down low, and, they interestingly rate other racial groups down low. This is all comes back to the cultural and, moral implications. I mean, I'm not black. I wasn't raised in a black community. Yeah, I've been around many black people, but I do think there's a sense that you see that, this racial stuff has to be highly, the moral decision making has to be highly focused around race and in group in certain communities, whereas others not as much. It's unfortunate that this is the way that we are, but I think this is just a function of what they've pushed on a societal level so heavily. And I believe personally that mostly it's about, getting control and demanding, fealty to a social order as opposed to, things like family and community and whatnot. So, at the end of the day, there are a lot of different ways people can, try to better control their emotional reactions to things. And, there are a lot of resources that are out there to do that. But the better we understand that everybody is trying to be the hero of their own story, and most people do not have a perspective that they are, doing wrong. Most people think that they're doing the right thing, let's say, but they're being driven by these unconscious, moral frameworks that they have built over time or have pre-existing. Then, we can have better conversations, and we can hopefully be more open to seeing the good in people and seeing the things that are driving people, as opposed to just imbuing people with negativity based on our own sort of moral frameworks that we can't necessarily control super well. So I posted the link. I could go into this topic a little more. If anybody wants to come hop on, you're welcome to. And we'll see where the conversation takes us. But I do think there's a lot of value, especially in the second book I mentioned, The Righteous Mind. If you're much of a reader and things like that, ultimately, because we can reframe how we approach each other to not imbue kind of so much negativity on each other, like someone in the chat. Baxter says that he is dog centric, and specifically one dog centric, and so he doesn't have a lot of opinions about this topic, and he wants to ride an elephant, but he'll ride a horse instead. And look, I think a lot of these sort of things fall into a human nature where, this is why you have, people who like sports teams, because it gives you a sense of being able to, express anger or express frustrations towards a collective, and it creates sort of the tribal in-groups that we do benefit from, and that we're built to naturally we're built to protect and to align based on our own tribal nature, our own groups, and we see this expressed on many, many levels. And, ultimately, there needs to be a balancing act between who you include in your tribe and who you outgroup from your tribe. This is why it disheartens me. All of these racial supremacy type things that you see going on now, or, people who go off about the JQ issue. It's not to say that everybody in every group is a set of good people, or isn't nefarious, but we are in a point in our culture and our society where we're leaning into liking to point fingers without giving people the benefit of the doubt. Hey, Crazy.
Hello. I was just going to say the same thing. We have a lot of problems with society where everybody's blaming everybody else, but not even looking at themselves and trying to correct what they do wrong, making part of society worse.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I can't stand that.
All right. So, Cowboy, I see you in the back channel. I will let you on for a few minutes, but if you can't be an adult and, behave yourself, I'm kicking you. Yo. Everybody saw you spewing on Discord.
Can we talk about humble? People have a lot of humble in real.
So, yeah.
And, the problem with society is people give people to their advantage and they lie to their limp because they can't get through the top, or they have to use other people. Like, like, if you want to talk about moral and moral dating, let's talk about moral. If everybody only get on the internet and talk all talk of things and whatnot, but the people who are in the background, who were behind them the whole time, those people get forgotten about, and those people are the actual people who have a more dating.
Well, look, I mean, I think that the anonymity of the internet allows people to be a little more loose with
Unfiltered.
their, kind of approach to other people. I think it allows people to not control themselves as much as they would, because there is not the reality that you could face some real consequences in the moment. That being said, I think it also allows people who are a little more responsible, or a little more, I don't want to use the word enlightened, but I guess that's a word that works, to be more honest than they would be. For me, I can be more honest online than I can in my real life, because of the implication and the influence of, how people treat each other in real life, because of their sort of high reverence for sanctity, and how they, need people, or insist people need to be just like them. I did want to get at what Art said here about, asking how much. He says, how much of morality is influenced by the ability to reason? It's nice to want to feed the starving, but it shouldn't be at the expense of your own needs, etc. I do think that there is a correlation or a relationship between the sense of morality and the ability to reason, for sure. I think when people are, to pull up Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like I did before, like I have before, when you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it's definitely the people that have the ability to, get past basic needs. Sorry, I'm just pulling it up real quick. But yeah, it's definitely people that have the ability to push past just the basic, needs that exist of safety and security, and psychological or physiological needs that can be self-actualized at the top of the pyramid, and, truly view other people independent of their situation. And there is an argument to be made that, there's much freedom that comes with both education and higher intellect and whatnot. But you could make the same argument about having things per se and being more financially stable. And you can also make the argument ultimately at its core that, like, people that are in the West, even the poorest people in the West, have much more benefit along the hierarchy of needs, and should therefore be able to morally reason better.
You know what I learned? The weakest people talk the most. What the weakest people. This is why weak people they get popular because they talk
Making eggs. We're gonna add
and they don't know what they're talking about,
eggs.
but they are
Eggs.
talking and they got people that like them because of the way that they look anyway. But really, people, the hardworking people don't, don't, don't talk about their work.
Don't talk about their what?
Their work.
Their work?
They don't go around talking about who they are and what kind of ads they got to impress everyone in the room. That's why, that's why I get a lot of heat because every time I see a fake person, I come out right away. And because I'm tired of helping weak-minded people, and I know they can hear me right now. If hard or mean to be men and take control. People are not humble anymore. And that's the problem.
Look, I think there are two ways people can approach things. I'm going to add D up on here. Welcome, D.
Hello, Dee.
But yeah, I think there are multiple ways people can approach these things. I think ultimately, I prefer to approach individuals from a standpoint of understanding and trying to educate. I think that as a society, we've stopped doing that kind of stuff, and we've laid into things like, my truth and sorry, I think I can hear myself through D.
I don't know if it was D or Cowboy, but I'm hearing it too.
No, I think it's D.
No, I'm not. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're very low, but like I said, I think we're hearing ourselves through your own microphone. Are you watching on like one thing and then on?
Tablet. No, I shut off on my phone. I'm on my tablet.
You might have to close whatever YouTube video, the YouTube app, so it's not coming through.
I did close it.
We're probably just your mic is probably just picking up your speaker at the same time.
Hold on.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree, Art. I think that people become very caught up in the abundance. I mean, again, this is what I was just getting at, is that I think as a society, we've thrown away any sense of duty or morality, and we've, kind of pushed the double down, triple down on a sense of self-actualization, which is pretty damn low on the hierarchy of needs and on the kind of moral foundation checklist that I was showing from earlier, or that building. And this is why people argue that as a society we're stuck in the like adolescent phase of moral development. But like I was saying, Cowboy, I mean, my way of approaching these things is to try to educate people and help people understand as opposed to attacking people. We all have different backgrounds. We have different levels of education. We have different home lives. We have different communities, especially when we're connecting over the internet. And I don't think it's fair to just fall back to attacking people because you sense fakeness or you don't believe them. I mean, if I were doing that, I would ostracize a lot of people. But you bring more flies with honey or whatever than shit.
Yeah.
Is that saying something like that?
With people in the network of the people and people view of the people to get to where they are. And then they get like that is it abnormal. That person will be hurting you back all the way the whole time. And then, like, money and popularity got in their head. And I'm over here to make a difference. I'm not trying to come on here to make money. I'm in trouble. I'm getting a free job. I'm not attacking you.
Well, goodbye.
Okay. I noticed the tensions going on with that the last day and a half, and it's like, ugh.
Yeah, D, I'm gonna hide you on stream. I'm sorry. I think it's your setup that's outgoing. Maybe if you tried some headphones, it would stop.
What's it doing?
We're hearing ourselves through your mic.
Yeah.
On my tablet.
Yeah.
Okay, why don't you kick me back out and let me just try coming back up once more.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm seeing myself right in the middle of your elephant, so something's amiss there.
Yeah, look, I'm trying to help people think better and be more charitable to each other. I'm not trying to facilitate a bunch of people all worked up and like fighting with each other.
Exactly. That's something a lot of people are struggling with, it seems like.
All right, let's try and bring D back on. Nah, D, I'm still hearing myself.
That's okay. All right.
Sorry. Well, hopefully we'll get your computer figured out.
Yeah.
No problem.
All
All
right.
right.
Kick me back.
But yeah, I mean, there doesn't have to be purity spirals. I'm not building a church or whatever. I'm not trying to get people into heaven or something. I'm just trying to, create a environment in which we can learn a little something, and socialize a little bit. And you know, not everybody is perfect. We all have our flaws. And that's kind of what the point I was trying to get across with talking about this moral foundation stuff is that, you know, despite these flaws, we can try to see the positives in other people and better understand them. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have all the answers.
But some people aren't ready to be there yet. Like you and I both, we can talk to people we absolutely do not agree with and still not have a fight. But some people aren't ready to get to that point yet. And it's just going to be one of those things that it's like some people might never get there. Others it might take time, but I can legitimately sit here and just talk civilly with people I don't agree with on 100% of the points. It's just, you know, we can offer the advice and the tips, but that doesn't mean everyone's going to take it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I saw some of the criticisms of height that I was reading about, but I didn't really talk much about. We're talking about how, you know, you can build you know, more dynamics than just the 5 that he does. And it talked about how one of the ones that he sort of leaves out is an in-group out-group mentality, which is historically, and I think there's some validity to the argument that he you know, shouldn't have ignored that. He kind of spreads it across some of his other moral foundations, but that's something that people are very heavy on. And I see it, like I said, I see it more and more. And I agree with the arguments. I think that it should be its own kind of setting, or its own you know, framework that is part of the you know, 5 moral tenets that he uses. It should be additional ones, because that's a big part of what I think we see going on is, especially with like the political side of things, the in-group out-group is utilized to you know, determine if people meet, you know, standards or whatnot, or if people are you know, worth valuing. And it seems to me a lot of times people determine that, you know, somebody is in the in-group, and then because they're in the in-group, you'll bend over backwards to insist that they you know, should be that what they're saying, you know, is of value, or that they're not outside of the Overton window. I don't know. Do people know what the concept of the Overton window is? I'm sure you do.
Yeah, I do a refresher for them just in case if I were you.
Yeah. So the Overton window is the idea that you know, you balance out freedom for what is acceptable, you know, from a discussion standpoint in society. Let me see. So here, I'll share a screen again real quick. So once that loads, but yeah, so, you know, with respect to ideas, you have, you know, acceptable ideas that, and then you have radical or unthinkable ideas. And then in the center, you have, you know, popular ideas, sensible ideas, policy, things like that, that, you know, the Overton window accepts. We'll share this tab real quick instead. You know, so some people argue that the Overton window is, you know, kind of in the center. You know, others buy into the sort of horseshoe theory where the Overton window excludes extremes. But the bottom line is the Overton window is a reference to what we as society deem acceptable to talk about.
Yeah.
And that shifts over time, you know, based on what we believe and whatnot, or what we as a society believe.
It's actually kind of interesting you brought this, the way you're bringing it up, because Dee and I were just joking a little bit about this. Because sometimes I'll say things that normally people would be like, "Oh my God, you're going to hell for saying that." But I also like to point out that there's a group of people that told me lying's a sin. So where's the boundary? And it's like you're saying, what's acceptable to be spoken in public and what's not, and what do we consider lying and what do we consider telling the truth, and how much do we sugarcoat it before it becomes a lie? You know, I just, it's an interesting thing that, we can discuss more often, in my opinion, like you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Don't forget to, sorry, just thought about it, but like, share, subscribe, all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Um,
I want to point something out with a comment Cowboy left. Yeah, people too tend to use other people, but it's also our choice in how much we let that happen. I just saw his last comment on here.
mhm.
We choose how, like, I've let people, I will sit back and let people use me just to see how far they're actually going to go. Because 9 times out of 10, you would think people would have the respect to stop at some point, but they don't because they get comfortable with it. And this is where we have to draw our boundaries, and people just have to respect them. We really do. And so when it comes down to it, it's also your choice in how much you get used.
Sorry, just doing some housekeeping.
It's okay.
Messing
No,
with
it's
some
all right.
online stuff. Oh, well, tell the dog we say hi. Maybe and you want Baxter to come hang out too. He's not too happy. But yeah, I mean, that's why I keep saying, like, I think that there is, kind of on both, in both sets of, cultures within our society, there is a purity spiral problem where, people can't just try to be more understanding, and people, feel the need to demand people meet them where they want them, as opposed to trying to be open. There is one of those like personality matrices. Oh, and this is something I forgot to post, but I meant to post, and I'll post it right now. But if anybody's interested, and we can do it together real quick, there is a website that has the height moral foundations test, and you can do it yourself. So if anybody's interested, I'll just blast it a few times and I'll put it in the description. But here, I'll pull it up real quick and show it to you guys. If you're curious about, kind of your own self. You can always Google it. Just Google moral foundations test and you can find it. But it goes through and asks questions. Some of them are kind of ridiculous. But it asks questions like, while on a live air TV show, a man kills a baby rabbit with a knife. Is that okay? Is that not okay? It's about these questions, and it goes through things kind of like that. Be curious to see what people come up with. I've done it before, and my kind of sense and what I found in going through it is that, and this didn't surprise me, is that I am very high. Despite being conservative, I'm very high on the care side of that foundation. And so it doesn't surprise me. I work in healthcare, and I'm very bad about putting myself first, or my own needs first. And I'm better at, kind of deferring to other people. I want Gutter to do it. Gutter, come on stream and we'll do it together.
I promise I won't say anything. I will just, behave myself. I'm not going to give anyone props or tips.
No, we're going to make you do it next. We're going to make the
Oh, I don't mind. I'll
evil,
gladly do the test. I know where I fall.
But
Yeah.
yeah, we'll make the evil green witch do it next, or elf lady, right? Sorry, I'm
I
not supposed to call you
she's
a
a witch
witch.
elf. She's an
Oh,
elf witch or
an elf
whatever.
witch.
Yeah, there we go. No, I
Um,
wouldn't mind doing that if you wanted to. If anyone wanted an example, but I can tell you pretty much where I'm going to fall. So,
yeah. I you don't have to. I'm not trying to make anybody do nothing. I'm just messing around.
oh no, I know you are, but it's an interesting thing, and it teaches you a lot about yourself. It's
Yeah,
like the personality test that they put out there. You know,
100%. It is an interesting exercise. In one of the Discord groups that I'm in, we went through that exercise about 3 years ago. That's when I did it
Mhm.
last. And it was interesting to see kind of what people's based on interacting with them, what the sense of who they were was versus
Yeah.
what the kind of questionnaire brought out.
Yep. And it's one of those things, I think everyone should do it at least once.
What, murder?
No, not murder. Oh my God,
Oh
my son.
man,
Oh my God. I'm so sorry.
you're okay. We've come to accept him for who he is too. Just a backseat podcaster yelling crazy things. It's fine.
Yes, he is, but
He's,
oh my
as I
God.
call him, instead of the crazy bee, he's the crazy grub.
Yeah, there we go. He's the crazy grub. Oh my God. No, and again, it's not try murder, but try these tests, see what they say about you, and enjoy what you can learn about yourself. And maybe, sometimes it enlightens you to change certain behaviors that are changeable, and you
Or
can recognize it, and then you're less of an asswipe.
exactly. Or, be like you're saying, be more capable of recognizing these behaviors. I mean, doing this type of stuff definitely taught me that I need to set better boundaries and be more self-serving sometimes, even
That's like
though
me.
that sounds kind of, I don't know, makes me feel shitty saying that, but
No, don't feel
um
bad about it. And again, I'm the same way. I tend to let people overrun me until I stand my ground. Like, I will let people to a degree. And then once my morals are like, nope, that is too far, not allowed, that's when everyone decides to start hating me. Is because I do have my boundaries. They're just, you got to push a long ways to get to them. And a lot of people don't understand that, I don't mind if what anyone really has to say or do. I don't care, as long as you just don't overstep with me. Once you push me too far, I'm not going to fight back, but you're going to know you've pushed too far. And
mhm.
that's exactly what it is. Like my family, 38 years of constant abuse from them, literally. And I didn't care what they did to me. It's when it started on my kids that I disowned every single one of them. And that's when you pushed it too far. I just stopped talking and get over it. You guys knew. I warned everyone in my family about it. They didn't care. They went about what they were doing anyways, and they learned the hard way. So,
Yeah, when I was a kid one time, and it's interesting because like this is I've grown out of this a lot, but I used to be the kind of person that would take it, and then lose my shit,
yep.
and blow up on people. But there's one time where my younger brother's pissing me off like all day, just pissing me off. Finally, I lost it, and I just like grabbed him and like bear hugged him, and then slammed him into the ground. And of course, that's the one moment where like parents and anybody else notice what's going on, and suddenly I'm in tons of trouble for like beating up on my younger brother.
But you had every right to, by the way.
Oh yeah, yeah. And then now all these years later, everyone's like, yeah, he was kind of a little shit and deserved it.
Yeah, just a little. Just a little, It's like with my brother. My brother and my sister, I would never put hands on them. They both have severe heart conditions. And my brother one time pushed me too far and he bit me. And so I just slapped him. And it's like that's so out of my ordinary, because if it was anybody else, they would have gotten their nose broken. So I've even restricted myself from hurting my family, even though they have no problem putting their hands on me. So, sometimes you got to snap before they'll catch on. And other times you just got to, let them learn the hard way. Let them learn from somebody else kicking their ass. You don't have to be the one to do it. But I tell you, family is nuts sometimes. They're the first ones that always teach you the social norms, whether
Mhm.
you want it or not. They're the ones who will teach you.
Well, that's look. That's something I gotta. I don't always agree with. With Army Vet and what he talks about on a lot of his streams when it comes down to some of this dating stuff. But I
Mhm.
do think there's some truth to what he talks about when he talks about how people don't socialize like they used to, and it's very
Yep.
difficult for people to learn how to interact and talk to people without socializing. And so for like young men, it's difficult for them to learn how to talk to women if they don't ever try and do it. Let me
Yeah.
bring. Good morning, Gigi.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good morning.
Good.
So this
How are you
this is
guys?
the Streamlabs Talk Studio, by the way. At least I don't know how much
I know. I
YouTube you're in.
was trying to figure it out. I was like, "What the hell?" It didn't seem to want to work right for me there at first, but I came in and had to leave, and but I finally got it figured out.
But
I
good
think
morning, good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How about y'all?
Not bad. Hung out with Baxter this morning, but no time is ever enough.
Right.
And
So,
I was
so
watching
I
a
went and
debate
looked
this
at the
morning on like
test.
Christian ethics. So I'm a nerd. But yeah, anyways,
That's what got you going down this rabbit hole.
no, it was a raging elephant that got me down this rabbit hole, but
Got it.
but no, I'm just a loser nerd. And this weekend there's something called DebateCon going on, where this group called
Ooh.
Modern Day Debates that hosts debates on their YouTube channel does a live in-person event. So
Ooh, that
I was
sounds
just
like
watching
fun.
the first one this morning earlier. But anyways, you were doing the moral foundations on the website.
Yes,
looking
just
at
a
it.
minute. Let me fix my settings so it's coming through my headphones because I feel like
Mhm. Good morning, Outlaw. You're welcome to come jump up on panel if you want. I think the link is
come take
pinned.
the moral test, Outlaw.
You showed up just after all the moral talk. So if it asks questions on there like are all women evil and terrible, you know what he's gonna say. I'm just messing, dude. I'm just messing.
Right.
The only good woman in his life is Andrea.
How do I get my earphones on?
The speaker setting in the studio.
Yeah, if you change the audio output down on the bottom left where the microphone thing is, you hit the little up arrow there. You can change the audio output to what you
okay.
need it to be.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how I
It took
screwed
me
up
a
the
minute.
audio my first or second stream or the first stream where I couldn't hear anything. And I think you came on and I'm just like, I can't hear anything. I don't know what's going on. I like restarted my computer. Yeah, all I needed to do was change that setting.
Is
was
it
going
echoing
out
at all?
my mic.
Not for me.
No, it sounds
Okay.
fine to us.
Okay, well, then I ain't gonna worry about the headphones. It's normally I put the headphones on. Right now, it's going through my other monitor, so I don't give a shit as long as it's not echoing.
No, you
All
sound
right,
good.
so where's this test you want me to take so we can
Okay,
figure out that I have no morals or ethics? We already know this.
Let me pull it back up. All right. Here, I'll screen share it while we do it.
Outlaw, get your ass up here because you taking the test.
You're doing it next. All righty. So this is the moral foundation test. So you can change the slider to like how far you want it. But so the question one, while on a live on air TV show, a man kills a baby rabbit with a knife. Is that not okay or okay, and to what extent?
Oh, wait, now it's coming through. Wait, you were talking the whole time. I thought you stopped talking and it went through my headphones. I'm like, why do I hear him talking? And my earphones are laying on the desk. I'm like, I don't get this. Where's that coming from?
It's just a tech day. I went through it yesterday. Oh my God. I wanted to pull my hair out with tech yesterday.
Yeah,
I don't know why it can be working one time and then the next time it's not working. And
I don't get it either.
No, I didn't change anything. Like I think I unplugged my when I was plugging in something else, I unplugged my webcam, and that's why I couldn't get the camera thing working where it shows a picture instead of just the circle.
Oh, right. Yeah, I was surprised it showed my picture. I have no idea. It must have been the last time I was on here. I fixed it, so it stayed, surprisingly. So, okay. First question is
All right,
while on
so-
the live air
I'll make it
TV
bigger.
show. Oh, good, because I'm blind. A man kills a baby rabbit with a knife. Okay.
So is that okay, not okay, and to what extent?
It's okay with me. I would say it's okay.
all the way okay.
Hell yeah, it's okay.
All right. Jack and Will are classmates. Will's father is a lawyer. When he picks up Will from school, he refuses to say hi to Jack's father because he's only a janitor.
Oh, that's bullshit.
Is that not okay
That's
a little bit or not okay all the way?
Yeah,
or-
all the way. Well, in the middle, it's not okay. I mean, he could have, there could have been reasons. So yeah, right there.
Okay. When Carl's soccer team is squaring off against the team of another nation, he sings along with the other nation's anthem instead of his own. That'd be like if Oilers came and he was, at like the national hockey,
Totally fine.
and he was singing the American anthem instead.
I mean, I would be mad if it was one of my own not singing the U.S. But
But it's okay for Oilers to come and sing the American national.
Yes.
Okay, well, what if you decided to go sing the Canadian anthem? Is that okay?
No.
Unless it's
Alright.
the South Park version.
I think it should be a not okay. Again, it comes down to
like a lot or a little bit.
right in the middle.
Okay,
That works.
a little bit not okay.
Yeah, a little bit not okay.
All right. A man sets up an unlicensed medical practice, but makes all of his customers sign a contract acknowledging that he is not a licensed physician.
Oh, absolutely not. Christ, we can't even trust the ones that are certified.
Is that all the way?
That's a way no.
Okay. An Army lieutenant neglects to file a report on a civilian killing done by his troops because he knows it was an accident.
Oh, absolutely not. That's not okay.
Using a condom and the pill, a brother and sister decide that they want to sleep with each other just
No.
once to see what it would be like.
No.
Oh my god.
That is like a no. Can we go up more to a no? Because that's a straight up no.
That's a burn them in hell.
That's right.
Emma and Cindy are summer interns at Chris's office. Emma does slightly better than Cindy. At the end of the summer, there's only one job opening, but Chris gives it to Cindy because he finds her more attractive.
Okay, I got to do this. A summer intern. Oh, well, no, absolutely not. Sorry, I was paying attention to chat.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
We have plenty of time. So is that
Okay,
like a
so
lot
yeah.
not okay or a little not okay or all the way?
I think it's right where you got it at.
All right. In biology class, a human hand preserved in a jar is passed around amongst the students.
I think it's all about learning, so I don't think that's a problem at all.
I was gonna say, are they passing it for a snack or an educational purpose?
Right? Are they licking it or what?
Can we have a little
Yeah.
more context to these
I
questions?
don't know. I don't know if you want to, eat it if it was in formaldehyde. I mean, I'm just saying.
Hey, formaldehyde has a lot
I don't
of
know. Will it make
purposes.
my wrinkles go away? I might be willing.
Some men have a private all-male club, and feminists take them to court, demanding they open it up to women.
No, absolutely not. Keep your nose out of it. It ain't none of your business. Join your own. Get your own going.
Amen.
When Kelly asks Steven out on a date, he sneers and says, "Like I'm going to go on a date with a woman who looks like my overweight bulldog."
Sounds like some of the guys I've talked to in the past. Holy shit.
I mean, it wouldn't be very nice, but I mean, it's not very nice. But I can't say
survived
that.
it.
I'm pretty sure we would all be okay. Sticks and stones, motherfucker.
Okay.
Exactly.
So it's okay, but how much is it okay?
Well, it's okay a little.
All right.
Like, don't go any further than, telling her she's overweight like his bulldog.
Do you offer her a dog treat?
Or a leash and a collar. That's another option that would be really over the top.
Or a poop bag.
Oh, we're all going to hell for this.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I already
got a
booked
condo.
a one-way trip. It's fine.
That's right. I got the condo waiting. I paid for that.
When a homeless man asks Matt for spare change, Matt keeps on walking and says, "Don't talk to me, loser."
That's bullshit. That's not okay. That's in the middle, not okay. Only because he has a right to, his own free speech, but it's just rude. Yeah, right there.
In sex education class, the students are taught that since sexes are equal, the girls should sleep with as many guys as they want without fear of being considered sluts.
No, you're going to be considered a hoochie.
But what about the guys? Why don't they get any social repercussions for what they did wrong? With
True.
that?
True. I mean, but you still they didn't ask about whether the guys were. They're just saying that if the girls were considered a slut, right? Without fear of being considered a slut.
Yeah, the way it's worded.
Yeah,
It's almost
the way
like
it's
a loaded
worded.
question.
It's I mean, I don't think they should. I mean, what do you? So they want you to fear. So what? I'm sorry. I'm.
In sex education, the students are taught that since the sexes are equal, the girls should sleep with as many guys as they want without being considered. So if you say that's okay, then you're saying that we should slut shame, or that we shouldn't be slut shaming. We should encourage like loose sexual behavior in women, because men say it's okay for them to do. And if you say it's not okay, then you're saying that we should slut shame. It's
a
not
loaded
asking
question.
about men, but it's a loaded question. Like, is slut
It
shaming
is a loaded
okay?
question.
They're all loaded questions.
They are. Yeah.
And I mean, again, it comes down to the free speech thing. But I mean, she can bang on as many as she wants. It's her hoe. Let her do what she wants with it.
All right, so
Right?
then we're okay.
Yeah,
Don't
we're
slut
okay.
shame.
Yep.
All the way, or just a little bit, or
I don't know. You pick one of those. Yeah, right there. Pick them. That's good.
all right. Dan turns up the TV just as his father is talking about his military service.
That's a dick move, I think.
I agree.
Yeah,
I
that's a
agree.
dick move. Come on, really?
When Lily tells her classmate Sue that it's her dream to be prom queen, Sue laughs out loud and says, "You're too ugly for that."
Sounds like my childhood. Man, a lot of this sounds like my childhood.
Okay, so morally, it's not right. See, I want to go back to the whole freedom thing, and I got to stay away from that. Morally, though, it is
Mhm.
not right for her to say that.
What
I
the
agree.
point are we not being honest and lying? And this goes back to my question: is we're taught lying is morally wrong, but here we have to lie because of somebody's feelings.
Yeah, but remember that there's things that you don't have to say. She didn't have to say that.
Yeah,
She
that's
could have just
true.
shut the hell up.
So, side question, and we can keep going with the test, but that Dank DeMoss, did you see that story about the fat lady
Yes.
and the
No.
lift?
No, I didn't see
Oh,
it.
okay. Well, we'll derail for a second.
Yep.
Okay, we're derailing.
Yeah.
Just for a minute. Yeah, this woman out of Detroit is out of her damn mind. Is that one?
Let me find the news story real quick.
Even my son's heard this one.
All right, here we go. Let me switch to sharing this.
Yep, just a quick 5-minute derail.
Tonight on The Edge, a Detroit rapper is going viral for something other than her music.
Fans know her as Dank DeMoss, and they're fuming after a Lyft driver allegedly denied her a ride because of her size. And Fox News' Jessica Dupnick is live in Detroit with this story. And my goodness, tell us how this all unfolded here, Jessica.
Well, it all unfolded on video. Deja Banlane whipped out her phone when this all happened. Now, the Lyft driver, he was kind enough and apologetic, but refused her a ride and said that she would not fit and that her weight couldn't be handled by his tires.
No more treats, Baxter.
Now she's filing a lawsuit.
Have you been in cars that size before?
Yes, I have. I've been in cars smarter than that, you know.
Deja Blanding tells us she was just trying to get to a Detroit Lions watch party this month when her Lyft rolled up.
As I'm walking, I see him like making faces or whatever. I'm like, oh man.
She already knew.
I can fit in this car.
Believe me, you can.
Yes, I can.
Believe me.
He told her there's not enough room in his car.
The kicker part was when he started to talk about his tires. You know, I feel like that was a slap in the face. That was like my tires, you know, like.
The driver said his tires could not handle her weight.
Now, mind you, she weighs like 500 plus pounds.
Every big person you turn down because they can't fit in your car?
Yeah, because they need to order the Uber XL.
No, I don't never have to order Uber XL.
He apologized, canceled the ride, and left her there. The rapper says she's pretty tough. Dank DeMoss, as she's known at the mic, is crushed by the whole situation.
I just want them to know, like, it really hurt my feelings.
It looks like Lyft might be hurting pretty soon, too.
I knew it was illegal, and I knew that it was wrong.
Her attorneys, John Marco and Zach Runyon, say weight is a protected characteristic in Michigan by law.
It would be no different than a driver pulling up and saying, you know, I don't want to have black people in my
He's so slimy looking.
Yeah,
car.
he
I don't
is.
want to have Christians in my car or Muslims in my car. It's the same. Under the law, it's the same.
The lawsuit is filed. Since she posted the encounter on social media, other full-figured folks have reached out saying the same thing happened to them.
I can fit in this car.
No, believe me, you can.
Yes, I can. I really want people to see, like, what we go through as bigger people, you know?
I got something to add to that.
We did reach out to Lyft. They did not get...
Okay, she's not paying for the maintenance of that vehicle, for the shocks, the struts, the brakes, the tire wear and tear. Sweetheart. Sorry. Get an SUV.
So
It's
that's
called
her.
losing fucking weight.
And I'm not trying to be mean.
It is.
I've worked it on vehicles.
I don't have a problem. I'll tell her to lose weight. Lose some fucking weight, fatty.
But yeah, that's her. And then she goes on the Breakfast Club to talk about this lawsuit. She sits in their like rolling chair and goes, "Do you have a bigger seat? I can't fit in this chair."
They pull over the
And
couch.
they pull over a
The love
couch.
seat.
I mean, for fuck's sake, when your knees has rolling fat over your kneecaps.
Well, let me
looks
just
like
say
waterfalls.
that when I was younger, my mom had a friend who had a daughter that was extremely overweight, and actually my mom's friend was too, but she wasn't as overweight as her daughter. It was definitely a learned thing. It wasn't, I don't believe it was hereditary. I truly believe it was a learned eating habits. It's the way they ate, the things they ate, as late at night as they ate, the exercise they didn't get, all the things. Well, she was extremely big, and we had kitchen chairs that were on wheels, and they twisted and rolled and the whole bit, and they had arms on them. And I'm not kidding you, she busted 3 of my mom's kitchen chairs. And finally on the third chair, my mom said, you cannot sit in these chairs anymore. So my mom gave her a chair that did not have any arms on the side of it. Well, her ass about swallowed the entire chair. It was like she really couldn't sit on it. It was like if you or I got on and tried to sit, lengthways.
We
on
were
a
sitting on a
fence
toddler
pole.
chair.
It was awful. I mean, my mom hated it, but it was ridiculous. And her mother tried to explain to her, I understand weight's hard for you and our eating habits aren't great, but I've tried to work with you. Her mom had been losing weight and was showing her how she could lose weight. This girl would not listen. She ended up dying from being overweight. It literally killed her.
Yeah, I mean, well, this is why, like, I try to be very honest about my weight and I recognize I need to lose weight and that, I'm trying to make changes to do that. But like, I don't discount it, and I don't, hold it against people. Like we talk about the dating stuff, like I was saying before on all of AV's streams, it always ends up happening. But like, I don't hold it against somebody who goes, I'm not interested in a bigger guy. Like it's just not what I'm interested in. Like, how can I hold that against them?
Right. And, there's other people that wouldn't date a skinny guy. They just wouldn't do it. They'd be like, I ain't dating that beanpole. Hell no. Yeah.
And then there are the guys that are into the women that are 30 feet tall with never ending legs,
Well, I mean.
Right. And meat flaps.
There we go.
I actually had a question. I posted on your stream, but when is Andrea going to start cooking for you? I mean, you do all these cooking streams showing off all these recipes. Why is she not cooking for you, bro?
She's really not,
I don't know, man. I gotta whip her into shape, I guess.
Well, I don't know. You're gonna have to get a ladder first to climb up there.
No, I'm just kidding.
But yeah, so anyways, on the moral questions, we got like 15 more or
Okay.
whatever.
Okay.
But so when Lily tells her classmate Sue that it's her dream to be prom queen, she laughs out loud saying, "You're too ugly for that."
Yeah, and I said, yeah, I want it right about there.
Well,
because they really shouldn't be saying it, but there's a nicer way to say it. They could have said it in a much nicer way, and really ugly doesn't matter. I mean, I've seen lots of ugly people. It doesn't mean I tell them you ugly. I mean,
well, it's subjective. I mean, what's ugly to somebody may be attracted to another person. So, yeah, it's in your approach. It's what you say to them.
Tom and Linda have been dating for almost a year. Since they've never agreed to be exclusive, Tom sleeps with other women without telling Linda.
now you're a dick.
Ooh.
Straight up a dick.
They've
They've been
I have to
banging
side with
for a
them. It
year.
wasn't discussed, so it's not. Or you
You've
need to
been
have the
banging
discussion
for a
beforehand.
year.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree with
Oh.
Gutter more. I think that loyalty matters, and if you've been with someone for that extended period of time, you owe them
Have that conversation.
honesty at bare minimum. Even if you are saying like, "Hey, we're not exclusive. I'm sleeping with other people."
Yeah, it's a no.
Is it an all the way no or a?
It's an all the way no.
If
It's
you're
just no.
if you're both not talking about making a future together, if you've been with each other for over a year and you haven't mentioned seriously getting with each other and making a future out of it,
That's kind of where I'm at. Like, how's the
but
conversation going with more context?
But if
Well,
you've
obviously,
been, but
more
if you've
context.
been banging for a year, there's
Mhm.
obviously, and you haven't been banging anybody else, and then all of a sudden you decide that Linda looks really good. That's a problem. First of all, I would probably cut him straight off. That would be it, because that would tell me he's never going to be dedicated to anybody. As soon as the next, fish swam by, he was sniffing it and going for it. So I would oust his ass quicker than his head could spin. So
I mean, obviously, we all have our own context or understanding of what it means when it says dating.
Yeah.
And that plays into how we respond to it. But if it was like they're hanging out, that's a different thing. But to me, dating implies that there's some level of respect that needs to be there.
Well, they actually said sleeping. They'd been sleeping together for a year, right? Didn't they say that?
No, it just said dating.
Dating.
yeah.
Right.
Oh, this one right here, 100% not okay.
In sex education class, the students are asked to inflate a condom with their mouth.
No, absolutely not.
I mean, I agree.
That's
What do
not
you
would
think,
be a
Gutter?
good time to point out. My brother did that in the middle of middle school.
We always
In
did that.
class
I don't
one
know. Why
time.
is this a problem?
Just for the hell of it, to embarrass people.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think school is a proper setting for this type of information.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. It should be discussed at home.
Yeah.
That's my
That's a
take.
very good point.
I mean, I can on some level slightly understand the whole like teach biology, but I don't agree with all these like lefties that are like, oh, we need to like teach people about every like kind of sex and
Just the-
every kind of thing you can have.
Well, I didn't mind the stuff that was taught, like even in my era, the mid 90s. Watch out for STDs, watch out for this stuff. Don't go with everyone and anyone who asks. That kind of stuff is different. But now they're not only teaching what to look out for, but how to do whatever and anything in between.
It's like
Very
I got into an
different.
argument with some lefty I know about how you should be teaching about how to have safe anal sex and all their kinds of sex
Yeah,
and
that's
stuff like
not-
that.
That's
And I'm
not.
just kind of like, you can teach people how to use a condom and how to be concerned about STDs, but that's different than like teaching people how to
Actually do something.
have a BDSM like relationship or whatever.
Yeah, that's not okay. That's too far.
Yeah, see,
But-
that's what I'm saying. If it's that big of a deal for you and your children, then you take them. In my opinion, you take them to a doctor and let them explain while you're in the room. If you don't know, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't
I mean,
know.
I don't
think
personally think that like this question is a, you know, all the way not okay. I think it's just a slightly not okay.
I mean,
I mean,
why
because
would
it's
they need
talking
to
about,
create
you know,
condoms
condoms.
now?
It's not like if it was talking about teaching about, you know, the intricacies of other kinds of sex, then yes, I would put it in more not
Yeah.
okay. But I think when it's just talking about, you know, condom stuff, because I don't think it's
No.
unreasonable to say that if you're teaching a sex ed class, you should be teaching people, you know, how to use condoms properly.
No, Leah, no, that's not. It's not what I mean by that.
Oh, let me see the chat. Hold on.
Leah said, so you're so get your mom to teach you how to blow a condom with your mouth.
No.
Hey,
That's not
you're the
what I
one that
meant.
didn't think it was okay for this
No,
sex education class to go over it.
I
Well, who's
mean,
gonna blow up
Unless
the
you're making
condom?
balloon animals.
why are we blowing up condoms with our mouths?
That's what
Why
I'm
are we
saying.
teaching improper use of condoms?
Condoms
what
can
I'm
be used as a
saying.
tourniquet, so there
Well,
are
maybe it
multiple
was an
uses.
extra large
That is
extension that needed the blown up condom.
Yeah,
I don't
like,
know.
what the fuck? Like,
Yeah, I really don't think that's. I don't understand why you would
appropriate.
let them do that. Like, what would be the purpose of saying, "Here, kids, everybody, blow up a condom"?
Maybe
I'm,
it was one of those fruit flavored ones.
it's
I mean,
edible.
Leah, you're not entirely wrong because I have seen a lot of Barbie doll toys that can get
Yeah.
pregnant, that have pregnancy.
They started that back in the late 80s. I remember it hitting the news and parents having a shit fit about it.
Well, you know, my daughter had the baby dolls that were anatomically correct.
Yeah.
So she had one with a penis and one with a hoo-ha.
Well, I mean, my
Mhm.
mom had my baby brother when I was just after I turned 5. He was born a little over a month later than me. Well, later than when I turned 5. And my mom, she didn't, you know, overly shelter when it came to diaper changes and stuff like that. Obviously, there's differences, but she didn't make a big deal out of it and point it out and say, "Hey, look at the difference." You know, there's that difference. Like, you got to use better judgment. You know, don't draw attention to it. Just, you know, there's differences. So what?
Yeah.
Sarah gets drunk in a bar and makes out with 2 strangers at once.
Yes, bad idea.
I'm
Yeah,
curious
it's
how
bad.
many mouths
Well,
she's got.
I think morally it is definitely not okay. I'm just going to say that. And it's about, yeah, it's just not okay. It's not.
The head of a public department says that none of her employees are allowed to smoke at all, not even in their free time.
Kiss my ass. I'll smoke when I want. That is not okay.
There was a
Not
talk
even
of
in
that
their
in the
free
hospitals up in Michigan a few years ago. Well, just before I quit work, had to stop working. They were going to start nicotine testing all the employees at the different hospitals.
Time out. Why does Leah know about the BDSM Barbies?
And
if only she would come up on stream and teach us about. Well,
I know. Bring the ball game.
Wait, you might get kicked
I've
off
never
of
seen
YouTube.
one.
You might not want all that info.
Hey, LW, what's up?
When it comes to this question, I don't think it's okay for your job to dictate
Nope,
what
me
you
either.
do outside of their parameters.
Nope. Yep.
That's why Michigan
No.
got shut
Yeah,
down.
no,
for
that's
the
why I
nicotine
put it on not
testing.
okay all the way because
Yeah.
you know, I can understand if they want to say, okay, you're not allowed to smoke like our
On company time, yeah.
at
I
our
would-
hospital, you're not allowed to smoke cigarettes on the hospital campus or whatever. But you can just walk onto the city street and smoke if you want to, or you can, you know, use a vape technically on the hospital campus outside.
Oh, they don't allow vapes down here. Even if, as a patient outside of the hospital, if you're near the doors or on the property, you can't even use a vape.
Yeah.
No smoking whatsoever.
No,
They
well,
got-
they're going to crack down on it because I've seen too many people like vaping inside the buildings when they're not supposed to be because they're just not
you
paying
mean
enough
me
attention.
when
But
they had me in rehab for a week and I was hiding in the bathroom with my vape pen and I told them it was just a fidget? Oh, yeah.
I'm talking more about employees than I am about patients.
It was while I was working in medicine and I had to take a week off for an injury.
I had a coworker the other day. I just think that she wasn't even paying attention or thinking about it. She stopped smoking, but she started vaping. And she
totally
pulled her vape out at her desk when she was in a bad mood and like pissed off. And I was like, I'm not telling you, not my business, but you're gonna get yourself in trouble if management catches you.
It
She was
took
like, "Oh
me a
shit, I
while.
wasn't even thinking about it."
It took me a while when I transitioned from cigarettes to vapes, and more than once I accidentally used in the office, and they're like, "What's that cherry smell?" I have no clue. What are you talking about? What cherry smell? I have
I'm
done
just
that.
eating cherry candy.
Yeah, it was completely on
Oh,
accident.
the
and
last
you're just-
one's already gone. My bad.
Yeah, yep, it's all on accident, never on purpose, right?
I'm okay with
Um,
this one. Go, John.
John soccer
John
coach
soccer-
decides that everyone on the team must wear black soccer shoes, but on the day of the match, John turns up with white soccer shoes instead.
Oh,
Okay, so
Oh.
I would tell my granddaughter, go for it. But my daughter would say, absolutely not. Like there would be we would have a disagreement. There would be an argument in the middle of the volleyball
Well,
court.
I
I'm telling
understand
you.
it. I understand it after being on a team and in marching band and stuff and raised by military guys. My dad and my stepdad were both in the military. So I understand why there are rules that we have to match for a reason. And for anything else, trust me, if it was my kids, I'd be like, you better make sure you have the right shoes before we walk out that door because I'm going to whoop your ass if we have to turn around.
Well, why do I feel like there's some racial intent behind this question?
Well, that's why
yeah.
forget the racial intent, but or sense that might be there. The story that I think this is getting at is those stories where like they say, oh, you have to have a certain, you can't have your hair in a certain way, and then some black kid shows up with like stuff in their hair, and they're like, nope, you can't play because of the beads in your hair.
See, for
There's
me, this is
rules for a
menial.
reason.
But
Even if
this is
they're stupid.
menial shit.
Mhm.
This is totally menial. This is not about whether he can play the game good or not. It has nothing pertaining to the actual game of soccer.
But it also teaches the be prepared, make sure you have everything you need in order to do so before you show up.
brainwashing. It teaches
No,
brainwashing.
it teaches preparedness.
It teaches do as everybody else and fall in line. Be with the cattle.
I can
So-
understand your perspective, but I see it as be prepared. I always carry
Yeah.
a knife and a
Look,
gun,
there's
but I don't need either one.
there's different perspectives. So Gutter, what do you want me to put as the answer here? Is you said this is okay?
Yeah.
Like all the way or just partially?
Right there, in the middle, right there.
This one?
That one. Yep.
Okay. Hannah inherited an old flag of her country from her father, but has never used it. One day, when Hannah is cleaning the house, she discovers that she's out of rags, so she uses the flag as a rag to clean the house.
No.
I don't care what
no,
country your family's from.
no.
That is so disrespectful.
No.
Oh,
No.
Isn't it weird? I'll say, yeah, that's, and again, it goes on that whole moral thing. Yeah, I will let the kid wear the white tennis shoes when everybody else has black ones. I'm telling you, I'm all over the place. But that's a straight up no. If I catch you doing anything,
I don't
for one
even care
reason-
what. Yeah, go ahead.
For one reason, over here in America, it's a crime to destroy a flag, the U.S. flag.
Oh, someone needs to tell some of those protesters out there because
No,
they're
that's free
Actually, it's
speech.
not. It's freedom. It's your right. It's your right. But I also have
Well,
the right to eat your ass for it.
Technically, yeah, but it is under the law. You're actually breaking the law.
that was
destroying a
World War
flag
II when that
improperly.
law came into effect, by the way.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Man.
Maybe it's been abolished off the rule books. I don't know. But
No,
No,
it's still on the rule books.
It's still there, but I think the Supreme Court heard a case and said that it counts as free speech.
yeah,
if I remember
which
correctly.
makes sense. I mean, but it's still highly disrespectful to the country.
I agree.
Bingo. Oh, my
Agree,
grandfather
100%.
would have beat my ass if I had done something like that. He wasn't even born here, but he served during World War II, and I would have got my ass beat if he caught me doing something
So-
like that.
Oh yeah, my granddad would have too. He served too.
Julie asks.
So it does say that it is not against the law to burn the U.S.
Not against. Okay,
flag.
so they've changed it.
To
then.
burn
it's
it,
protected
but
by
to
the
use it
First
as a
Amendment.
cleaning
Blah, blah,
rag,
blah.
I think is a little bit different than burning it.
Oh.
I mean, but drive over the rainbow in the streets, and you're going to
And-
get a misdemeanor.
Yeah, I know. The
There's-
hypocrisy.
I know that there used to be a proper way of disposing of flags that were old and worn out. They had a
Mhm.
proper method
You
for
actually
that?
took it to your police department or your fire department, and they would send it off to the military to do it.
Right.
This one's a not okay all the fucking way. This is one of the things I would literally go. I've been in fights over this one. Let me just tell you.
I'll just read it for everybody if they
So
can't
that's
see
a
it. But
straight up.
Julie asks her friends not to fraternize with her ex-boyfriend Jake since he cheated on her with other women. 3 weeks later, Julie's friend Melissa is dating him.
I'm not going to tell people what they can and can't do in their life. For me, I don't give a shit. They're allowed to talk to whoever they want, and they can date my ex all they want. That's their problem now, not mine. And I don't want to hear jack shit about it when they complain.
But I'm all about dedication to the people that you love, and so for me, it is a big straight up no. You pick now. That doesn't mean that I like when my kids break up with their whoever. I tell my kids, sorry, I'm still going to fucking be. Yeah, I'm still going to be. I become to know this person and love this person, and now you've kicked her to the curb, but I will still visit with her. So
yeah,
Melissa is a hoe. What's her number?
Hilarious.
Oh my god.
I mean,
so for me, it's a straight up no. Don't do it.
I wouldn't date someone's ex per se, depending on the circumstance. But like, I've had friendships end, and people are like, "Well, don't talk to this person no more." They or you. I'm not going to go tell my friends not to talk to this former friend of mine. Because that's different. Okay, that's a friendship thing. If it's a relationship, that's a whole nother ball game too. Because it's messed up.
So
but
what this one is asking, if you remember the moral foundations, this one's asking about the loyalty.
The loyalty aspect,
yeah, that loyalty. Okay.
I don't know.
That's why I say like
odd on this one. I'm a little odd.
I mean, there is a moral question involved, but in actuality and practice, how many people ever abide by that?
Hold on, Leah, I gotta point this out. My sister's ex-boyfriend of 10 years ended up hooking up with one of our cousins, and they've been together for almost 10 years now with 5 kids. So
look, I think that the situation also depends. Like this gave us a specific situation where this guy's sleeping around on you, and it's like, should your friends be with other people? But like, or should your friends be with that person? But like, there are situations that I've heard of, like you're talking about, where people are like, well, this is not right for us, and then they meet a friend or a family member of the person, and it is right for them. Like they works out. So again, situations matter, but in the context that they're describing, just generally, no, I'd agree. Generally, I would say it's not okay.
To waste your time.
I mean, there is a moral dilemma here, but at the same time, in the world that we live in, people do this all the time. There really is no loyalty much anymore. So, I don't know. No,
well, for me, that's you made a perfect point. There is no loyalty anymore, and we need to get back to that. That's part of the problem with our country is we've totally lost that. We've totally become people who don't give a shit. We can just turn the other cheek, and I think that is part of the problem. I do. I just do.
Yeah, I would say
I won't argue that point, but I will point out that, my upbringing definitely had a major impact on how I perceive things. Because again, family, I'm talking my mother all the way down to my cousins, all walked all over me and treated me like shit. So I have a higher tolerance for it than most people would, because I was raised in it for 38 years before I walked away. So it's like, how much of this is just having a bad family weighs into it.
Well, we can demand a little better from people,
Well, when you're 5 years old, good luck demanding anything from your parents without getting your ass beat.
I mean, change the parents, can't necessarily change the kids, That's what we need to change as society.
This one, you've got a lot of factors that could play into this.
Yeah. That's why I say, there's so much to this that, especially these questions, that it's not necessarily a you're right, you're wrong. It just gives a stance of what you are like and where you can change with these questions.
All right. Yeah, bro code. LW knows what's up, but send him that other lady's phone number, please.
LW,
Right,
you
she's
know
a hoe,
what's
and
wrong?
she
The
never
bro
dated
code,
none of his
man.
bros.
Bros before hoes. He knows. He knows.
Okay.
Tina promises her dying mother that she'll visit her grave once a month. After her mother passes away, Tina finds it hard to squeeze in the time, and her visits drop to about once a year.
Nobody
Yeah, I
gets
mean,
to judge this one. Sorry. This comes down to the whole grieving and how you deal with your loved ones that have passed. And I have been a firm believer, and we don't get to judge that. So it's perfectly okay, in my opinion, on whatever she decides to do, because that's her deal. And
Yeah,
I
I mean,
think that nobody gets to pick how you do it.
How far
Yeah,
you
I
want me to
mean-
move that slider?
All the way.
yeah, I mean, you've got a lot of factors that play into this.
Mhm.
That, you know, maybe your job took you away and you have to do things. You got other commitments. I mean, but there is an argument there that you make time for the things that means the most to you. So, yeah, I'd probably put it one
Well,
click.
but then you have to take into effect, now you've got living people that are living every day, and they need your undivided time. She might have made that promise when
That's
she didn't
true.
have kids and bills and all of the things, and now she's got all of those things and trying to, and maybe she moved away on top of it, and maybe once
But
a year
phone
is all
calls
she can do.
exist. Phone calls exist.
She's dead. What do
She's
you want her
dead.
to call?
Call the grave. No, look,
Oh.
I think there's also something to be said that, like,
Ouija
you know,
board.
when somebody is dying, you know, it can be helpful to, you know, instead of being honest, to make them feel better. And, you know, I mean, like, I think about my grandfather that passed a year ago at certain times. I don't think about him every day. I also didn't think about him every day when he was alive. But that doesn't mean that I don't, like, you know,
You
it-
still love and cherish him.
well, and also, but it doesn't mean that I didn't take the things that he taught me that, you know, he valued and haven't incorporated those into who I am and my life, you know? Like, the way we impact each other is more than just a simple, like, being in a physical location.
Well,
if that makes any sense.
I think that most people that are dead would probably say you need to get a life. If you're spending once a month at my grave, you've got to find some other things to do, or once a year, whatever.
Yeah.
You need to find some, you need a life. I am gone, and I will be here every time you come here, but I'm not here. You need to go on with your life. That's what I think. That's what my mom would say. I think that's what my sister
Well,
would say.
That's
I
what my
just-
family's go-to is look, I'm dead, I'm in the ground, I'm watching you from either heaven or hell. Either way, go about your life. Don't worry about my grave. I'm not there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Brian does not cooperate with law enforcement. Whenever he is pulled over, he refuses to answer questions, starts bickering with officers about his rights, and yells about being a sovereign citizen.
I was just gonna say,
He
he sounds
does-
like a
that
sovereign
does not
citizen
say
again.
that.
His
I
mouth
added the
shut.
sovereign citizen part for the record. For anybody that's listening and not
And it's
watching,
absolutely
I added
all
this
the
stuff.
way. Well, I can't say that because there are instances where you shouldn't argue.
I figured Gutter was going to go. It's okay.
Never argue on the side of the
It
road.
is-
Take it to a parking lot.
This
I
one
think
right
I'd argue in
here-
court personally,
I'm not gonna waver on this one. I do believe it's okay. I think you definitely need to stand up for your rights, and there ain't nobody gonna tell me it's not.
How much
I
okay.
just
okay,
don't
though?
like it
All
on
the
the
way
side
okay.
of the road
Yeah,
because
this
of the risk of getting
one's,
hit by a car. I don't
yeah,
like
this-
the idea. Even if the cop's an ass, he doesn't deserve to get killed by a car.
Well, then he probably should have picked a better fucking place to pull him over, huh?
Well, I mean, what? We're gonna follow him for 20 miles to the next town where there's a
Okay.
parking lot.
What better things does he have to do?
Actually, quite a few. If you think,
Well,
depending on
good.
where
Then
they
he
live.
should probably go do it.
This
But if
this
this guy just
question-
almost ran over a 4-year-old doing 90 on a 25-mile-per-hour stretch,
That's right. Call me Brian.
This question sets it up like you're supposed to be an obedient law abider.
Yes.
And-
depending on the circumstance, again, in the
I mean-
situation, you know, pick and choose your battles is my thought.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Cops are enforcers of the state. They do not have to protect people. They've already said that. So when you realize that, it puts this in an entirely different context. Yeah,
Look, my perspective on this is unless they do something that's egregiously outside of right. My problem with this is whenever. That's the problem here for me. If I did something wrong, if I'm speeding, they pull me over, so be it. But I still stand by the old adage of, you fight in court, you don't fight on the street, because it's always going to end wrong for you when you fight in the street. And unfortunately, you can argue about cops being the a strong arm of the law, not actually representing you and representing your municipality. I don't disagree with any of that stuff. But at the end of the day, from a practical standpoint, I think you have to, choose your battles wisely.
Mm-hmm.
And I like, when the Jewish lawyers make money.
Oh my God.
All right,
Either way.
Sarah's dog. I couldn't help myself.
Somebody
Anyways.
exposed Eugene.
Cowboy's pushing his luck. It's okay. Just leave him.
Yeah,
Don't
there's a reason that he's not coming up on stream.
Ever again.
Sarah's dog has 4 puppies. She can only find a home for 2 of them. She Christy gnomes the other 2 with a stone in the head.
No.
That absolutely, you cannot put that in there because Christy Gnome, that ain't what happened. So kiss my ass. But
That's true.
this
Hers
is
was
not
okay.
What
Okay,
Christy
I'll
did
stop
was
adding. I'll stop
absolutely
adding editorials. She unalives them. Okay?
No. You don't.
Look, if
you
a
don't.
dog's got rabies or even borderline,
and it's
showing,
bit people over and over. And
Yeah,
over.
Yes.
The dog's going down. I'll shoot it
But
right.
these
Yeah,
are
if
cute
you-
little puppies that didn't do nothing to nobody. All right.
This is a no-no.
No, that's where you just keep them until you do find a home, or you take them to a shelter, or you donate them to the police department. There's so many
Exactly.
things.
You don't put them out. No. Yeah. You try to find them a good home. And
Yeah,
you got other ways to
I'll
deal
take
with
care of
that.
them until I find another home for them. Fuck that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Why would you
My
mouth.
kill an innocent animal? Come on, man.
LW's
if
right
it's
on that one.
Now, if it's a dog that's been around a while, that's an adult size, and like they said, he comes down with rabies or something, or gets injured, and he can't continue living in the state he's in. Yeah,
That's
it's like
different.
a horse. You help them, put them out of their misery. But a puppy, no, come on, no, not a puppy.
Amy and Maya are coworkers. One day, Amy offers to take one of her shifts, quote, no strings attached. Sometime later, Amy could really use someone to fill in for her, but Maya doesn't feel compelled because Amy's original offer had no strings attached.
Oh.
Ooh, my word is my bond person. I don't care
But
if
she
there's
never
strings
gave her
attached or not.
She never gave her word, but yeah, I believe she didn't give her word. Let's be honest here.
Mhm.
But it would be the right thing to do would be to cover the shift that she offered. So yeah, I would say it's not okay for Amy.
Not okay.
Is it all the way or just partial?
No, it's not okay.
None.
All right. Amanda and Beth have been dating for 3 years. Sorry, not Amanda, Adam. Adam and Beth have been dating for 3 years. Adam is reluctant to have children, so Beth tells him that she's on the pill when she isn't.
Oh, no.
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 Hell no.
No.
That
No.
woman needs to go to jail for that one.
No, that is not okay by any means.
Glued shut.
And I have had a lot of MGTOW stories about stuff like this.
My sister.
Mhm.
This is not a good thing.
And what's insane is even if, this happened and you had a kid, he's still responsible.
I don't think men should be at that point. This is where I get a lot of heat from women and stuff, is if they lie and deceive him into getting them pregnant, then they're on their own. Figure it out. No child support mandatory.
But if you stick your dick in something, I don't give a shit. Birth control is not 100%. Nothing is 100%. You stick your dick in something, you are taking the chance of having a kid. So if one comes along, then you best plan on taking care of it. I don't give a shit I don't care if you
But
were
with
trapped to do it or not.
Oh, so look,
you should at least be able to sue over the deceit.
Listen, Gutter, I agree with you if they had not had this conversation, But having had this conversation, I don't think that's okay because of the
You
deceit.
still stick your dick in it. There is a huge chance
Mhm.
you could get her pregnant. Do not put your dick in it if you do not plan on raising a kid. Straight up, that's how kids happen, is by having sex.
Yeah, no, you're correct. I just have a problem with because I've met women that have done this where
Very
you know they
deceitful,
like poke
conniving.
the hole in the condom or whatever to trap a guy,
Totally get it.
knowing that
The-
they're putting him on
and he's
for that.
taking the precautions to try to prevent it.
Yes, but he's
In
banging
this-
a chick that poked a hole in the condom.
Well,
Why
if he
would
doesn't
you
know,
Yeah,
if he
why
doesn't
would
know,
you be
then
with
how is-
somebody that you don't know? Why would you stick your dick in?
So this is
something
why
you don't
I
know
am
that
very against the whole like one night stand thing and all that.
I
like
agree.
sex
In this-
outside of committed relationships is
In
concerning to
this
me.
scenario,
There you go.
they've reached a point in their relationship or situation, whatever you want to call this, where they need to sit down and have it out once and for all. If you're going to have kids, let's do this. If not, then they need to go their separate ways. This deceitfulness on her part's not going to cut it.
Yeah. 100%.
And that's just the bottom line to it. I mean, you don't deceive people to get what you want out of them, literally.
And that's where I have a problem is like,
Oh,
look,
God.
just be honest. Like, I want a kid, even if you don't, and then call it
Right.
off.
Pull and pray. The fucking
LW's
Oh
on
my
fire
God.
today.
I know. So they've reached a point in their relationship where they need to sit down and make a final decision on children, and if not,
Go
from
their
there.
separate ways. Yep.
Yep.
Where my sister's the conniving one who will do anything to trap a guy, and then, well, she actually had the freaking nerve to accuse
I
me of
gotta
doing
run and
that.
grab coffee. Just
Whew.
give me 2 seconds.
Damn.
Oh, well, let's answer this one first.
Yeah.
Tim asked his father for permission to stay out late because of his classmates are throwing a party.
Nope.
When his father
Nope.
refuses, Tim slams the door in his face.
No.
Can I
No,
just can I go with my
no.
double standard of I did that as a teen, but now as a parent won't allow it?
Yeah, no, I mean, again, this
No.
is asking about your respect for authority, but I agree with Outlaw that this is not okay.
It
You
is
do not
100%.
disrespect your parents in this manner. No.
Nope.
Exactly. No,
Live under their
my
roof,
parents
live
were a
by
piece
their
of work,
rules.
but yeah,
How much not okay all the way?
All the way.
0 okay.
Oh, there you go. They got this question. A Christian baker refuses a custom decorated cake with chocolate letters that would
Oh
carry a
my.
pro-gay message.
Absolutely okay in every way. 100%.
Yes.
500.
I would
They're-
rather
they're-
know they don't want my business than sit there and have them hate me behind my back and spit in my cake.
Now here's
Uh,
the thing, yeah, because this is an actual real life scenario that happened, as all of you, I'm
Yep.
sure, are
Mhm.
aware.
I'm very aware.
You know,
And they
it's
kept-
it's
they-
strange. Well, it's strange to me that they sought out a Christian bakery to do that to in the first place.
That was
You could have
setting
went
it
to
off.
Walmart. You could have
Well,
went to Target. You could have
And-
went
Yeah,
to.
and then they
did it on
kept going
purpose.
after that bakery because they went after him
Yes.
again with some other, like trans thing
Yes.
or whatever, something
Yeah,
different.
and that's when
Yeah.
you know it's on purpose. They could have gone to anywhere else, and they were doing it to
You-
make a scene.
Yep.
You
I
look,
can't
it's the
stand
same thing. It's the same thing if you reverse the roles. A gay bakery has the right to refuse service to a Christian person. It's the same thing. We live in America. They have the right to refuse service to anyone they don't want to make it for.
It's a private company.
Amen.
You
But
can't get mad at
no,
that because that's the law. You're allowed
Yeah,
to
but-
do that.
not according to these whole rights activist groups that seem to
Right.
think everyone has to bend the knee to everybody else instead of having their own reasons.
Well, this is why that case that I was mentioning earlier about
Uh-huh.
the 500-pound lift
Woman.
rider
Yep.
and how, to me, I look at that and I'm like, she clearly fomented that because she's
Oh,
sitting there
yeah.
taking video, puts it on the internet, and then, says that she's been harmed by people like making fun of her or whatever on the internet.
Right. You're right,
Um,
Brent.
Yeah.
They
okay.
wanted it to happen.
Yeah.
All right, this one is funnier than shit, and I could totally see all my kids pulling this kind of shit.
I
back
can
and
barely
forth.
read it. My eyesight's horrible.
Bob and Pam are siblings. Bob is given $10 by their father and told to distribute it between them as he likes. Bob gives $1 to Pam and pockets the $9 himself.
Hell yeah.
Mhm.
It's not okay though. No. I don't.
Not okay.
It isn't okay, but I
Eh.
totally see it happening.
How much
I
not okay?
mean,
Right about in the middle there, the taller.
Bob's
that-
already got.
Whichever.
Bob's
It
already got a
depends.
little bit
What
of,
did his sister do in the last 6 weeks that would deserve
her
her
fault.
to get $1?
Bob's already got a little bit of Soros in him. The government. He's already practicing the government.
Right. He's going to work for the government.
A group of parents concerned about their children's risk of obesity demand the local store stop selling extra large size candy bars and
Hell
soft
no.
drinks.
No, that's not the store's responsibility.
It's yours as a parent.
Exactly. I agree. Yeah.
Jane's boss calls all of his employees by their first names, but does not allow any of them to call him by his first name.
Wait,
Jane is-
Wait, we can't go over this one. The LW just fucking did. Bob is obvious.
My man.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry, you get back to reading this.
Okay.
He's a tiny hat. Yeah.
Look, usury is wonderful when you're not on the victim side of it. All right.
Right there, that's true.
But yeah,
Jane
so
gets
Jane insists that it must be a two-way street, and he fires her for not calling him, or using his first name or whatever.
I can see where, again, authority, structure, and stuff. I had a boss that insisted we call him by his first name, and I could never do it. And he would get so frustrated with me because I would not call him by his first name. And it's a respect authority type thing.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing with teachers and that sort of
I
thing.
can't stand when people call them by their first names. Even my kids, like if you do not put aunt or uncle in front of the title in front of the name, like Aunt Mary or Uncle Bob, I'll have a fit. I will have a fit.
I don't think it's okay that he fired her, though. I'm sorry, I don't.
Absolutely not okay.
I mean, that was her job.
Yeah, I mean that's a little extreme over a name.
It is extreme, but it should still be at least explained. And again, I was raised in that where even your neighbors were Mr. and Mrs. whatever. You never called an adult by their first name or anyone of a degree or higher authority by their first name.
Even in the office that I work in, technically I'm equivalent to the doctors. I still call them, unless they tell me not to, I still call them doctor.
Yeah.
Because it's a respect thing. Like I don't, on a personal level, respect our medical director at all, but I will not call him by his first name because it's a respect thing. Like, I don't think he does his job well. I don't think that he, deserves his job, but he's still in that position, so I will treat him with the respect that it.
That was one of the problems I had with our offices. The medical assistants got on to first name basis with the doctors, but then in front of the patients, it's like they slipped, and then the doctor's giving them a dirty look, and I'm like, that's why I don't like getting on a first name basis with my boss ever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
LW, you're off by like 150 pounds.
I mean, why would you make it in the shape of shit? Like, come on.
Scott is hosting a dinner party. For dessert, he serves a chocolate cake shaped to look like dog poop.
Yeah, I mean, why?
I would do it for fun, just to piss everybody off. But
if you were having a dinner party that the idea was to make things look like other things, then even if you didn't say it, look like gross things.
Yeah, I mean, if everybody's in agreement and understands what's happening, I mean, yeah, but
well, and also, how well do these people know your personality to know whether you're just being silly or not?
I mean, obviously, it also matters if you're like,
thing?
this is a cake, but I thought it would be funny.
Well, and that's again, like if I'm hosting something for work or the church, obviously I'm not going to do something like that. But if I'm doing it for like a family gathering for Christmas or Thanksgiving, you could damn well bet I'll be putting something like that on the table.
It's in poor taste, literally, but
it's freaking
I mean, it's
funny.
not off the table. I mean, people do that for gag gifts. So
yeah, I don't think it's anything morally. I don't think it's a problem.
Indifferent.
Now, if it was real dog shit, now if he actually put it real dog shit, well, now we got a problem.
Then there's
exactly
lava in the cake isn't chocolate.
That wasn't fudge.
It's interesting though It's interesting though that this is a trend that's caught on recently because people are making all kinds of weird cakes, like pimple cakes and
Chicken.
Well, it's all those
saw
like
boneless
TV
chicken.
Yeah, they're
shows.
making.
I've seen
they're
all those
making-
TV shows or whatever about like, is it cake or not? I think that's what that has to do with.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
they're
But-
making like shoes into cakes and
Oh, everything.
cartons of milk
purses,
into
you
cakes.
name it.
Like, what the fuck is
Now,
this?
would I be willing to make my cake look like asparagus and then eat it while my kids got the actual asparagus? You can bet I would.
Oh wait, hang on. Is that morally okay?
I don't care. I'm the parent.
No, I'm not asking you. I'm asking the rest of the stream. We know you
I
don't
mean,
care.
This
is-
one's
it
not
is.
really. This one's not really high up or high down on the morals. I think it's kind of in
Dude.
between.
I mean, we can go.
We-
We,
we
can leave it
tell
in the
our
center.
kids-
We don't have to go to one way or the
We
other.
tell our kids that Santa is real. Hello. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
So, Gutter, what do you want me to answer on this one?
I think that it's absolutely fine. I do not think this is a problem.
Yeah, I mean it's.
All right, a pair of parents read about the exotic delicacies of Africa and the Far East. In the coming weeks, they serve dog meat to their children.
Ooh.
Look. No, and no,
Uh-uh.
and no horse meat
Yeah.
either. Sorry, but
Wait,
no.
wait. Hold on. I got distracted responding. Hold on. Read about exotic delicacies.
They read about exotic delicacies and serve dog meat to their kids.
No.
Okay, here's my thing, and y'all can judge me how you want. I don't care if I'm hungry and there's nothing else around to eat. Fido's dinner.
I hear you.
Simple.
And I think that some of this is definitely cultural, but
Yes, and culture
Yeah.
does not mean morals.
no, I got
Right.
you. But they don't say that they're starving or anything. They just say that they decided
Okay,
to like.
Exotic delicacy. They're obviously not starving. They're using it.
Okay,
Well,
so
exotic.
again, even at that point, I would still eat it because, again, if I'm over there and it's legal and it is acceptable in their culture, I'm going to eat it.
No, I think the
Some
implication
countries-
is that they're here in America and they just you
Oh.
know.
Some
Okay, so now
countries
they're just
marry
trying to say
10-year-old little girls.
Yeah, see, some of these questions are slightly vague. So
It's
Well,
on purpose.
It's intentional, yeah.
Now, I don't, again, there's a difference between eating dog meat and marrying a 10-year-old. Completely opposite ends of the spectrum
Oh,
of
God.
morals here.
I agree.
I
Well-
don't see anything wrong with eating exotic meat as long as it's not another human being. I have issues with that, but
No
I
eating the
understand why
cats,
some
no
people are
eating the
okay with
dogs,
it.
no
yeah,
eating-
that's what I was thinking.
no eating the duck,
Cats,
right?
eat
Sugar
cats.
Rich's?
I'll eat cat, dog. I've eaten all kinds of animals.
No.
That's
I've
where you
eaten-
see
No.
That's where you start seeing the Chick-fil-A commercials now, where the cat's like, "No eating the cats, eat the dogs."
No eating the
Now,
duck.
I've had possum, I've had alligator, I've had ostrich, I've had camel. I'll
Yeah, me
eat
too.
whatever.
I'm
I-
with
I-
Tim. No eating the dogs. No eating the
I
cats.
was that?
would-
Was
I
that
would-
Chick-fil-A that used to do them commercials with the cows?
Yes,
Like,
it was
more
Chick-fil-A with
chicken?
the cows.
Eat the cat. They're eating the cat. They're eating the dogs. Eat the cat.
Thank you, Harvey.
Oh my god!
Eat the cat. The cat.
And see, again, we also look at this,
They're
that
eating the dogs.
we see
They're
them
eating
as
the
pets
cat.
here. We see them as pets, where in other countries, they are not seen as pets. Like guinea pigs are an actual food source in parts of Africa and South America, where here we have guinea pigs as pets.
Crazy. You are not
That's
talking me into eat the dogs.
It's like you're not coming to my house. You can't have my pets.
Not.
I'm
I'm
not
just
eating
saying, if it's served up to me, I'm going to eat it.
Yeah,
Plain
you're-
and simple.
I would try a bite, but I wouldn't eat the
No.
whole thing.
no,
You know, I had
would-
a
would
coworker
be
years ago
staying
that
in the
wanted
same
me to go
home.
visit his family with him in the Philippines, specifically so he could feed me some dog.
Mm-mm.
Look, I would say this. I don't think in a specific situation where you know, either you're starving or something, you know, is done humanely, or in a society where that's acceptable. But I personally don't like. I might have felt differently before I had mine, but like I do see him
Absolutely
as
say that again.
having moral value, and
Could be on, you know, the next dinner plate in the Far East. Just-
I'm pretty sure this would be very, very wrong in a family where they've got animals and they love their dogs, and the kids would probably not even want to do it anyway. So
Okay,
I don't know.
well, I don't
We
know. I
had
knew
ones that lived next door to us when we first moved into this house, and they had a Dalmatian, and it was the most gorgeous dog you ever seen when it first got here. When we first moved in, and we would hear them in the garage, and we would hear that dog like they were beating that dog. I know they were. You could tell by the way it was yelping and all this shit. And then all of a sudden, the dog disappeared. I told Marvin they ate that dog. They ate that son of a bitch. Which I have to tell you, I didn't care much because the son of a bitch cornered me on my front door one day. He would not. I couldn't even get my screen door open to get into the house. He was that close to me. I mean, he had me cornered. He was ready to eat my ass.
See,
Here's how I would sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead first. Then I'll
No, I was just saying, as far as like answering this question, for me personally, I would say it's not okay, but I don't know that I would drag it all the way to the not okay if depending on the situation. But in the situation that they're describing here, to me, this is not okay.
It's not okay. It's all the way not okay. You're doing it for exotic as an
Exactly.
exotic
I mean, that's why I say, like, if we were talking about one of these situations like Crazy Bee is getting at, where it's starving, where you don't have other choices, where it's the only option,
Yeah,
like,
that's
again, that can bring it towards the okay. But in this setting, to me, the way they're describing it, it is not okay.
But look at this circumstance, though. A friend of mine growing up, their parents had a rabbit farm. It was for meat or pets. You could buy some rabbits off of them for pets for Easter, or you could buy them for food. A lot of people don't eat rabbit anymore, but I sure would. I'd
eat rabbit.
And so, again, rabbit, is it a pet or is it food or is it both?
Well,
Dogs
listen,
and cats can be food or both. Pets.
Gutter gets the last answer on this, but I probably would put it somewhere like that, even though I think Gutter wants it all the way in the not
It doesn't
okay.
make a difference, but that's me. What do you
Well,
think?
you can do it now.
exotic delicacies. It's a straight up absolutely not. I mean, they're not doing it. They're eating it like caviar. So I got a problem with that.
No, we definitely feed people things without them knowing what they are, like Kaya says.
Chicken nuggets from McDonald's are mostly sawdust.
Sawdust, yummy. Principal of a school says that none of her students are allowed to draw Muhammad on school premises or bring Muhammad cartoons to school.
Depends which country.
Yeah.
Well, if you're in the West, then you'll get stabbed by a Turkish consulate official if you do these things, or
And that's where again, I'm religiously neutral. So what do you guys think?
If we're talking about America, then I don't know about all that. Like, you should have the freedom to do that type of stuff.
See, I am all about the freedom. So for me, I don't think that it should, again, this is another, this goes back to the schools and them grooming the kids. And
I don't think this is okay. I don't think it's okay for the principal to sit there and say, like, you can't, draw or say things about one religion, like,
and not the others.
But not the
Now,
others.
to an atheist, they don't care what you do with these religious figures. You draw whatever you want about any of them. But if we're talking about a Middle Eastern country, which is what that question sounds like, then that's their customs. And they don't have the freedom we have here. So,
Flatty.
But if we're talking about the West, talking about where we're at, I have to disagree with this one.
Yeah, I'm a no on this, and it's all because of your freedoms. So I'm an absolute no on it.
It's an interesting point Flatty makes, but about the animals we eat vegetarians, but I don't know that. I mean, pigs are not necessarily vegetarians. Even if we don't feed them meat, they'll eat like anything.
Oh yeah, trust me, my cousin's glove.
Stuff like that will eat pretty much anything, including each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Wait till the pig farmer dies. They'll go ahead and eat him too.
I mean, this question right here, unfortunately, I deal with this in the diecast hobby that I'm in.
A new action figure becomes all the rage amongst the boys in Timmy's class. When Timmy's parents go to the store, they buy all the action figures for Timmy, leaving none for the other children.
Timmy's spoiled as fuck.
Morally,
come first serve.
Yes, but morally, I would not do this.
I know
for my kids.
I mean, I don't think it's an all the way personally, but what do you want me to do?
I don't think.
Have y'all seen the price of action figure toys lately?
This one or this one?
Way.
Left one or right one?
The first one.
Ain't
I don't
no
think
way.
it's. I mean, I think it's somewhat. Not
okay. A man named Outlaw orders a custom-built sex doll of Andrea designed. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
A man
No.
orders a custom-built
No.
sex doll designed to look like a young family member.
Hell no.
This guy.
No,
Oh wait, hang on. So this guy is about Elon Musk's dad, right?
Oh my god.
No, this one's highly inappropriate.
I agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
Man,
Let's
Flatty's
see
vicious.
How immoral I am.
Number one, that's your family. Number two, how old is this niece? That makes a huge difference.
Either way, that's still just ew.
It is. Right. It is. It is.
All right. So
am I liberal? Holy shit! Look how liberal I am.
came out as your strongest moral foundation is fairness, and your closest to libertarian.
Yeah, that's what I am.
That's okay. I usually come out in here as libertarian. We can do the political compass test too if you're interested.
I see.
But yeah, so you are the green bars.
And that's not a bad thing.
The left liberal is the blue bars. The red is the conservative, and the yellow is libertarian. So yeah, I mean that's not.
As I thought. Loyalty.
Look,
I'm
libertarian. That's what I am.
Well, and this
libertarian.
honestly, this doesn't surprise me. Like I know, Gutter, that anyone that knows you knows that you have an authority issue, and like you're not a big fan of authority. So like these shouldn't for most people that have done this stuff. To me, it's not surprising what they results are.
I love that my fairness is up there. I can't believe my purity is up there. As if it should have been like 0.
Well, that's just because you wouldn't let them eat the dog,
I was gonna say I must have lied.
So what was we going all by Gutter's answers for all of these? Or
Yeah, I was doing what Gutter's answer was.
Okay.
At the end, even though we were all discussing.
Yeah.
But yeah. So and then it goes through here, like what the moral foundations are and what the political groups are. But this is something that I've thought a lot about. Is I think a lot of the people that are attracted to the MAGA movement and attracted to Trump are not necessarily historically conservative. They tend to be right-leaning libertarian and middle of the road conservatives. That
independent thinkers. If you look at these, look at how nothing. I mean, I don't go across the board with anybody. I don't go across the board with left. I don't go across the board with conservative or libertarian. I have my own thoughts.
Yep, but this is why I think you see a lot of these like far right people who are very into race and very into religion and very into all that kind of stuff. Having issues with what the Trump new version of Trump is and. The people that are part of his, administration, and bringing in people like Bobby Kennedy or like Tulsi, people that were historically, Democrats, and incorporating them into his, administration.
Right.
I went above everybody on fairness. Ha ha ha. So next time I punish you, know I was being fair, kids. I'm gonna tell my kids next time. Okay, I had to go make coffee, so now I gotta go get me a cup of coffee.
No, you're good. I'm gonna be back in just a minute. I'm gonna go get Baxter some water.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people would have a problem with sex dolls anyway.
Yeah. Well, and I know my daughter and I talked about this briefly because she's 19 now, but they're trying to sell child-sized ones for the creeps out there. And is that something that's going to deter them or only encourage the behavior? And it was something that, and again, I'm censoring a lot because there's a 12-year-old in my house right now.
Yeah.
But no, like in that one, we both were like, oh, that's a hell no on that as an industry. Because again, I get it. In most cases, it's a mental illness or it's propagated because of abuse that happened to them. But that does not mean it's an okay behavior and you go get help for it.
Right.
But the only problem with getting help is now you're stigmatized as automatically someone who has hurt a child, even if you haven't. And it's kind of a rough situation. And that's another really good moral topic to debate is, should we persecute before any harm is done, or should we wait till there has actually been harm before we persecute? And
Yeah.
that's a tough one, because I mean, there are many in my family. Another reason I don't talk to any of the assholes. But, you know, at what point do you draw the line and say this is officially too far? And it's a tough
Yeah.
one. It really is. So, and again,
Well,
I'll
you
never
gotta
say it's
be
okay to hurt a child. The hell, that's the quickest way to get
right.
me pissed off. So, but it does make you think when you take away the emotion and think about it from a logical perspective. And that's what I
Mhm.
try to do with myself is, you know, only go at it from logic, not emotion.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Well, from what I have gathered from a lot of this stuff, that is one of the biggest problems in our culture is a lot of people not because you can't just walk up and have sex with whoever you want to without their, you know,
Yeah.
a
Even
lot
with
of these
consent,
people.
sometimes it's still not right because they're not
Well,
mentally
you can,
capable.
but I can. No, I'm just joking.
Well, a lot of these sick people out here, that's what it stems from is
Mhm.
no access to, I guess you call it getting your rocks off
Yeah.
like other normal human beings would, but so you know they revert back into their own little world and then try to get it in other ways.
And
You
that's
know,
again a major problem with society is that there's so much disconnect as a community that people are living in their own worlds and these fantasies fester in their minds and they think it's okay
right?
because there's no pushback. And then the internet just don't help none of that.
And then you get real world consequences, and then people get pissed off, and it's like, yeah, well, you know, we tried to tell you.
It's a multi-factor problem. It
Yep.
really truly is. Our society is
The
really screwed.
I will tell you, being in the MGTOW deal, the sex doll industry is happening a lot of because of the government's incentivizing to allow sexual liberation with a lot of people, and so it's
Yeah.
messed up the whole family dynamic,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you know, women no longer will go after men; they'll go after other women now, or
Well,
you
but
know,
again,
and men
there's
will go after
also
other
a long
men.
history of sexual abuse that has turned women away from men. Whether
Yeah,
it was uncles, dads, bad boyfriends, some idiot in school.
yeah,
It's not just, oh, I was born this way. Sometimes life circumstances hit too.
yeah,
And it doesn't help because of the lack of proper therapy.
yeah. I agree. I've never believed that they were born that way. I don't believe that. I don't
I
believe
don't know
anybody's
what
born that
I
way.
think there in some cases there is that degree, but most of what we're seeing today is not natural push. It's not a natural
Right,
evolvement of it. There's a
right.
lot of push to it. And I
A
think
lot
that's
of
the
it,
difference.
a lot of it is your mainstream media putting it out in the forefront.
Pushing it,
Um,
not putting it.
yeah,
They shoved it with a
they're
battering ram.
right, and they're giving them way more attention than they know what to do with, and they're buying into the hype.
Mm-hmm.
And
Hey, Wanda.
Because I'll
Wanda
say
E,
I've known a lot of gay people and trans people
yeah,
who don't want this pushed on kids. They want the kids to discover what they want in life themselves, not this media push. And again, I have no problem. I may not agree with their lifestyle, but I'm not going to go out of my way to be horrible to them because they're good people and they're not looking out to hurt kids the way some of these people are. And
right,
that's where I hold the difference is what is their purpose for talking about their lifestyle? And is it just to bring awareness to other adults or is it to push it on kids? And again, I've had some of my best bosses were gay or lesbian. Okay. Absolutely
yeah,
fun to get along with. But they didn't cram it down your throat either.
hmm
And like my one boss, her wife was awesome. Oh my God. It was the funniest thing in the world because she and I could get along talking about cars and computers, But the boss of mine, you know, the most she could do is talk medicine and work on cooking and stuff. You know, it's just the separate in personality. So I don't have so much of a problem with it as long as they aren't pushing it into the propaganda realm. So
The fact people are gay doesn't bother me. It's how far they push it into other people's lives that I have a problem
well, that's
with.
the activist. I wouldn't conflate.
Yeah.
I wouldn't confuse the activist with the actual people.
Yeah.
And it's the activists, the crazy, over the top, white, screaming liberal women with the nose piercings that just
Right.
absolutely make everyone look like garbage. They're the problem.
Mhm.
And I'm
Yeah,
saying this as a
exactly.
person with tattoos, piercings, and usually dyed hair. So when I can sit here and say it's the liberal ladies
Easy
with
on
the
the
nose
dyed hair
piercings
thing.
that are horrible.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, if you're the libertarian dictator, GG, as LW said, I had to save it till you get back.
My hair fits.
You can have the hair be whatever color you want to make it.
Okay, well.
Hey, I've
I
gone with
mean-
bright orange. It is an awesome color.
I mean, just like the left, I don't like the right leaning extremists either.
Yeah.
I'm not okay with a lot of that either.
I don't.
That's why-
That's what my podcast basically is calling out the extremists on both ends, or at least asking questions on why the hell they got this way.
No, I mean, I agree with you. Like the outlaw. I mean, this is something that very much frustrates me. And I think I've talked to a bunch of people that are here watching or here, you know, on live about it. But that I don't find any good homes for myself politically because I agree with some of the stuff on both sides of the aisle. But everybody is so self-righteous and, you know, demands that people hold to very hard and strict rules to be part of their group.
Right.
Well, Art's got a good point
Yeah.
here.
So
I
actually,
see you saw it as I did.
yeah, no, this is actually, I think I saved it. I was going to maybe talk about it at some point, but there was a Substack, you know, I need to like expand it out more, but there was a Substack article that I saw talking about a new study that was done looking at how the weirdness is totally tied to the, like Art says, the indulgences and the having too much time and being more affluent.
However,
Didn't they
that
make that
that
big
also
movie
brings up a
about
good
that?
point. That also brings up a good point, though. The less affluent, the more real things you have to worry about. Exactly. So, look at how much time we spend on just getting through day to day, going to work, you know, dealing with your family, paying your bills, you know, the everyday thing that all the other things. Everything grows into where you can't, you know, you wake up one day and go, holy shit, what's going on here? All this happened. I mean, look at what happened while Obama was pulling all of his shit for 8 years. We were all working our asses off and never paid any attention. Now, of course, I had left my job. Well, I was fired from my job. Only job I was ever fired from. That was the last job I had working independently or completely for somebody else. I then from then on worked independently because I would never be fired again. Piss on you, especially when I got fired for doing my job. So, but I can say that once I didn't have that job no more, and I actually had time to look at the world, I really knew. I mean, I already knew that things were really getting screwed up, but it gave me a lot of extra time to really look at things and go, "Wow, we are screwed."
And
We
that's
are
like
sucked.
what I went through after my car accident and being stuck in bed since 2019. I've been able to actually stop and look versus working the 50, 60 hours a week I was putting in. And now I can look around and say, where the hell did this come from? And I get where you're coming from. But if you also look, the crazy activists who are pushing for us to basically become a communist state are the ones who can't even handle working 30 hours a week. They have too much time on their hands. So it also has a lot to do with where we stand morally and our emotional capabilities too. People who are the bleeding heart for every little sob story are going to push for communism. And then those of us who have learned to distinguish, you know, what's a legitimate cause and what isn't, we're the ones who are pushing back right now.
Yep. I mean, well, this is why you see a lot of the, like, you know, political activists out of these colleges are kids of people who have money that they, you know, hand over.
They don't have to work because mommy and
yeah.
daddy can pay the bills for the time being. I got out
Yeah.
of high school and it's like, oh crap, my parents ain't taking care of me no more. I literally called my dad about a year ago and asked him if I could come back to being a teenager, and he pays for everything. He wouldn't do it.
Yep. No, I mean, I think part of why, they say that, if you're not a liberal in your like college age, your teens, and 20s,
Mhm.
you're, you don't have a heart, but, that people, once you hit your adult phase where you're actually responsible for things, people become conservative because they have to deal with the real world, and you
Yep.
can't just be a bleeding heart liberal about things. I think a lot of people don't realize how privileged they are. And I've said this to people before. It's so frustrating to me, but you see so many people who are running around in the West now talking about how they're victims and all this
they're not.
victimhood, politics stuff, when in reality they are more privileged than 90% of the world.
That's
I've
that's
said
because. Oh, go ahead.
no, the last thing I was going to say is like I've said many, many times to people, like I have pretty shitty luck, like I'm 19 diagnosed with cancer, and all that kind of stuff. But then at the same time, it's so much about perspective. Like I won the
Yeah.
fucking lottery just by being born into a lower middle class family in the United States, by being lucky enough to get a modicum of intelligence in my genetics, by having parents that helped to foster that. Like even if I never win a lottery or win a sweepstakes or
born to
something or whatever, I won the lottery already by what I was given genetically and
Having a
through
good
my
family.
education and family and being in the West and all that.
A lot of these people we're talking about have bought into their own hype because of how the media has given them the power and incentivized them to
The
get
victim
away with
mentality.
doxing. Yes, with doxing, canceling, boosting them in a lot of these programs, and the DEI and ESG, putting them ahead of the line in a lot of places. Only focusing on them in your high school athletics or movies or whatnot. They've completely taken over the comic book industry. They've taken over the music and movie industry. So they've got an artificially inflated self-sense of worth that has come through psychological manipulation of the media, using them just like they've used everybody else. And people unfortunately get swept up in it and think that they're really more important than they are, and they're not. That's why they can't decipher why people are telling them, if you want to be treated as normal, you can't be put on a pedestal and above rebuke and reproach, and they don't understand that.
And I think there's more to it than just, being born in the West and being lucky. I think there's also a lot of it that comes from just growing up and realizing what's right and wrong. Like, again, I can bring up, I have literally 5 victim and or race cards I could throw at any time if I wanted, but I choose
Mhm.
not to because to me it's stupid. Why would I use something like that just to give a little boost over somebody else? And I think society promoting and allowing this is another big part. And when parents aren't in the home or around enough to teach their kids otherwise, or to teach them you don't have to go that way. It's again, it's just like how much it's not just media, it's also lacking of parenting, lacking of so many things. It's a combination of chaos that has led to this where we either like I could totally be like my sister. She is 43 in August and she is a perpetual student. She has never really stopped going to college and always works. Her oldest son is raising her youngest son, and it's absolute insanity. Where I'm here,
Right.
I've always chosen to be in the home, be part of my kids' schooling. I have been to every parent-teacher conference. My daughter was a little bit behind for graduating because of when we moved, trying to find a place that was stable to live. But she just got done. She went through like she had 48 assignments and she got it done in 2 days. So she wouldn't have to go back to school again and go through another freaking fire drill on a bus. And that makes a huge difference in your children. and the next generation. So again, I know everybody likes to point to politicians, media, the liberal schools and all this, but it also has a lot
Yeah.
to do with how much did your parents actually give a shit about you
Right.
and how you
Mhm.
turned out as well.
Yep. No,
Yeah,
this is
it's
every time
true.
I have one of these discussions about the culture and whatnot, I always come back to it starts at home.
It does. Yes. And guess what? Your media and your government have already taken the time to put a quietus on that. Look how much they've tried to destroy the modern nuclear family. And what pieces are left, they've got complete control over that, incentivizing you through government checks or, your education for the kids or
Mhm.
what
My
have you.
family's a
So,
perfect example of that.
yeah.
We're in the middle of, we live right by Portland, so we're in the middle of, the leftists of America, and
Yeah.
I mean, everybody that's around us is this way. All the schools are this way. We had to every day basically reverse what the school was teaching our kids. That's what we did
That's what I
basically
do
the
with
whole time
mine.
raising our kids.
Yep. Every day. Like when my kids come home, I was talking to my dad about this today too. The difference from what he was taught about the Civil War back in the 50s when he was in middle school versus what my kids were taught in the early 2000s about what was the lead up to the Civil War.
Okay, what was he taught?
He was
Mhm.
taught the same thing I've been teaching you since the day you started learning about it. It wasn't just slavery. Slavery ended up being a pawn used for things for propaganda later in the war, but it originally was the overbearingness of the North trying to force the South to
Yes.
completely convert things and change things. But again,
Exactly.
the schools have slowly changed it. And this was a common taught back then. It was not actually the forefront of the war was not slavery all the way up into the 50s. This was not taught.
Right.
I mean, it was taught that way, but now we're being taught more and more that slavery was the only cause of the Civil War. And again, if you're not there undoing the lies, your kids are going to fall for it 100%.
Well, it's like them having
Slavery.
to, push the whole 1619 project thing,
Oh God, my sister tried
and
that shit with me.
repaint American history as
Oh,
primarily and only based on slavery.
The
yeah, my sister did
abolishment
that. She
the
tried that with
abolishment
me,
of
and I pulled out the history book on her, and she was pissed.
the abolishment of slavery was a byproduct of the war. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was literally over states' rights to keep seceded from the Union, to keep their business practices and way of life going, while the North was forming into this powerhouse at
Industrial
the time.
complex. It was all
Yes,
industry up north versus agriculture of the south.
yes.
Mhm.
Oh my God, not many people actually
Well,
know
this
this,
is
and I've gotten into so many fights over it. Thank
this
you
is
for
on
being
some level,
there.
like when you really think about it, why did the British, who were an island nation, come to control the world for such a long time? It's the same
Mhm.
setup as existed in the Americas, where you extract resources from poorer areas, you bring them to a more developed area, you use industry to make it into something of value, and then you sell the goods that you produce to the poor area.
The thing about the South at the time, they were self-sustainable. They were
Yep.
growing their own crops. They had their own businesses. They
And Lincoln
were
couldn't make
literally
money off of it.
exactly. They were sustaining their own way of life in that part of the world at the time. The North was quickly expanding into the territories out west and down in the South with the industrialization, and they wanted the South incorporated.
Yep.
And so they went after our way of life, and unfortunately, they were just better prepared than we were. I mean, you're talking about Southern people who weren't organized on a militaristic standpoint like the North was with their
But y'all,
weaponry and
but again, I've lived in Kentucky before, but I'm back here. But even when I lived up in Michigan, okay, supposedly only the Northern history was taught up there. I knew better because I did my research, and again, you know what? Given the circumstances, that South was not as militaristic as the
Mhm.
North was when it came to the military and stuff.
Right.
Most of the leaders were from West Point. Even still, I mean, like Jefferson Davis and Grant, not Grant, Lee. and the other ones, they actually did attend West Point. So they had the same education, but it was the civilians who had not had the military training. Like the North had a lot more civilians than military. And y'all still held out for how long? Amazing.
I mean, we have to keep in mind the North was already, as far as weapons were concerned, they had manufactured, factory weapons that they could dish out and, arm militias quickly and a lot more quicker than we could. They had all that up there in the North. We didn't have that. We had, small smelting furnaces and all that stuff. But yeah, they come down here and unfortunately they won the war and we got incorporated
into the bullcrap. Well, no, on X, there's a account that's called The Slave Narrative. And I share it all the time because it is firsthand accounts from former slaves. Most of them never had a bad word to say about their slave owners.
Yeah, I think that was indentured servitude at the time.
No, these were actual.
Look, this is the same argument that I hear people that are monarchists make for monarchy is that there was a duty that existed that no longer exists in the bureaucratic state.
Well, you have to keep in mind that owning slaves, even back in those times, was an expensive thing because, and that's only something that the wealthy Southern business owners could afford. Not everybody in the South owned them.
Exactly.
That's what a lot of people get wrong too. A lot of people, the South is known as the poorest part of the country for a reason. We can't afford even that. So,
and that's the other thing, though, I wanted to point out is, again, I'm not saying slavery is right or wrong. I will 100% condemn it. I mean, all the way up into the 1920s, my ancestors were enslaved. Okay. And I know RB and I've talked about that one before. I don't think I've talked about it on here, but all the way up into the 1920s. But I'm not for it. I'm just saying that the way the history books make it look is absolutely inaccurate from what really happened.
Yeah, it's not right to own them in any way, shape, or form. But I don't go along with it. But people who are ignorant of history need to understand that in the South, not every Southern person owned a slave. That's
Most
not
people
how it
down
works.
in the South have never even seen one unless they lived right near a giant plantation. They'd never seen one.
Right. Your wealthy Southern business owners, the more higher ups in the South are the ones that owned them and could afford to have hundreds of them work in the fields. That's not the average Southerner. So I always laugh when I hear people make that ignorant comparison to the South. I'm like, no, not everybody.
My dad
here
tried
owned
telling
them.
me that Alabama still has KKK members running around. I'm like, not nearly what it used to be.
No, not in this day and age. No.
No, I tried to convince my dad, but he was born in 49. So you got to remember what he grew up around. He
Mine was too.
in his 20s as the civil rights movement was going on.
Yeah.
Well, and all these people want to moralize about, America and slavery, but they forget that the entire Caribbean, and much of South America was even horrible, much, much worse.
Well, we could still talk about what happened in Europe with the Muslim Turks overtaking the Slavic people until it wasn't even abolished until the 1920s. Black people were afraid of slavery before the Slavic people were.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I learned recently? The British Crown, paid like reparations to other countries.
Oh God, yeah.
Right.
They just finished paying that off in 2015 or something like that. So, people who in no way on an individual level benefited from slavery were continuing to pay those funds for 100 plus years, 150 plus years.
Well, a lot of people overlook the progressive movement that was going on at the time around the 1890s, 1880s, right in that time period, of a lot of formation of a lot of what you're seeing now, governmental overreach and whatnot. And it all stemmed a lot from that progressive era. Now, sure, we had advancements in technology and medicine and industrialization, but where did it get us as a country? I mean, look, people are more divided now than they've ever been.
Yep.
And I
As
blame
Art
Obama
says,
for it.
things like racism are super common in the world, and people don't
Yeah.
recognize in any way how, these, and then they want to point to like low level, quote unquote, microaggressions as evidence.
You looked at me cross-eyed, and that's racist.
Mm-hmm. Most of that is people with their own inferiority complexes. I mean, look, I'm so kind of sick of this rewriting of history. Like, look, I to talk about, my own family's history, like my family, half of, my half of my family fled from Europe because of the Austrian painter. And, I'm happy to discuss with people if they want things that are not necessarily true about that period of time and the Jews related to it. But the Eichmann trial happened. It's all on YouTube. You can watch the whole damn thing. Like, these people were very proud of what they had done. They were not embarrassed in one at all. And to, just sit here and be like, I saw somebody posted something about, from an AI tool talking about how, that was all made up and never happened. Like, the people that orchestrated it, and their arguments are things like, well, if you had a crematorium and it could only do this in one day, like, go watch then it could never have added up to this amount, and you'd have to be burning actively for 60 years to take out that many people. And it's not just Jews. It was, people that were gypsies, people that were, had mental health issues, people that, had Down syndrome, people that were enemies of the state, Poles, people that were LGBTQ, all of it. And, none of that is to discount the fact that there were Jews that were, Bolsheviks or whatever, like your son likes to go on about.
Yes.
Or that there are other people that, were bad. But at the end of the day, like, you can't deny these things happen. Maybe the extent that they're utilized to tell a history or historiography that, dictates that America is the good guys in the West and all that, and has done no wrong ever, is not necessarily entirely true. But the fact that these things did happen is true.
And that's like, I know, Arby, about my heritage and how it's like everything where the World War II really hit. Part Gypsy, part German, part Austrian, part Jewish, part everything. I'm a little bit of everything. So when you're talking about this, I literally have heard all sides of these histories, either from firsthand experience or from what other people have told me as well. I've met actual survivors of Holocaust. They still had the tattoos on their arms and stuff. And, so again, and I've always had the problem of some of these places will only take one side of history as a fact. And I know we've talked about this briefly, and it's, again, why do we only let one side write the history? Why can't we just have both sides and learn where they went wrong and why it was wrong and discuss that? And again, that's not a topic for here on YouTube, because that'll get you in serious trouble.
Well,
but there's nothing wrong with looking at it objectively and saying, this is where this group was wrong, this is where that group was wrong, and here's how they could have done it better.
The short and sweet answer to your question is a country full of well-informed people is extremely dangerous to what's going on.
Exactly. That's why they don't want us to know.
You can't be controlled at that point.
That's exactly why they don't want us knowing.
Well, this is why I always say, this is one of the things I like to bring up when I talk about the trans stuff, is like the Muslim caliphates made eunuchs for a reason. Yep. And how on some level, if we push a lot of our young people towards this, is it's not creating our own class of eunuchs. But no, what I was going to say is, one of my favorite quotes is I think it's Mark Twain, but it's that history does not repeat itself, but it often rhymes. And I like that better than those that don't know history are doomed to repeat it. Because to me, what that talks about is that human nature doesn't change. People are just the same because we evolved to exist in a certain way from a evolutionary psychological standpoint. So to me, so much of this speaks about the fact that people don't change, and even though our circumstances may change, we repeat things because we don't learn that we can't master our base nature. One of the things I always talk about when religion comes up is, to me, the devil is not so much the real, existing being in my mind, although other people could differ. But to me, what the devil really is our sort of tribal and animalistic nature that takes away from us being able to be conscious beings, and to tie it back to what I was talking about at the beginning, but to be run by our rider and not by our basic elephant nature.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why I try to point out the stuff to my kids. Like, this is where we went wrong in history. Don't let this shit happen again. I don't care how crazy you look. Scream about it, yell about it, have a fit about it. Because there's no way in God's green earth this is going to be okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And what Art says is accurate. Truth matters more than comfort.
Mm-hmm.
It does. It
I've
absolutely
been called
does.
crazy for most of my life because I've been calling out where history is starting to repeat itself, and everyone just told me I was nuts or paranoid.
See, Crazy B, I live in Alabama. I live near Birmingham.
Oh, you're not too far from me. I'm just over about 40 miles north of Nashville.
Okay. Heck yeah. A lot of the history books tells you about the Selma riots, right?
Oh, yes.
People getting the hoses turned on them in Birmingham, the dogs, all that stuff.
Yep.
The bombing of 16th Street Baptist Church.
Yep.
But what they
I'm
don't
familiar
tell
with
you
it.
is the flip side to it.
What led to it?
What were the blacks doing before that?
That's actually
an uncomfortable
interesting.
one. That's an uncomfortable one.
Yeah.
Well, they don't tell you about all the blacks destroying property and peeing in people's yards, shitting everywhere.
Go listen to my last podcast from the other day. I brought on someone who was alive during the civil rights era and what she experienced in Philadelphia during that time. And I'm trying to get my dad to sit down and do a recording with me from what he experienced just north of Detroit during that time frame too.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get the other perspective. You're talking exactly right up my alley.
That is sad what that city has become with all those massive plants and everything just sitting empty and abandoned. That is sad.
Well, and look at all the culture that's been lost
Crazy Bee.
into the South. Yes.
Which day did you do it, or which live? I'll share the link.
Let me pull it up. I'll share it. Hold on. Let me find my tab. I've got a bunch of tabs open. I am so sorry.
No, it's hard to find your individual shows because you do it like almost every day, which is great. But it's hard to tell which you're talking about.
Hold on. Let me grab it, and I got to log into my studio because I'm using Firefox. Of course, it doesn't save the passwords.
They want to show you all the dogs chewing on them and the hoses turned on it. They don't want to show you the other side of it.
Yeah, the car's on fire. The house is being trashed. The people being beat
cars
down.
over in the streets and protesting, rioting, causing a ruckus and all that. Yeah.
I mean, look, there's a lot of washing of history, not to put color to it, but I know, you were talking to D that one day and you mentioned in passing the Tulsa riots.
Yes.
And, this whole burning of Black Wall Street and whatnot. People don't realize, if you actually go look at the history, it's not like that rivaled any functional, market. It was tiny compared, it was like one block, and it was, financially, it was a tiny percentage of, financial production. That's not to say it was right. That's not to say it's okay. But the way that it's painted now is way out of proportion to what it actually was.
Oh my God, if I open the wrong tab one more time, my hand hates me. I am so sorry. It does not normally take me this long to do something, but my hand is acting up from the nerve.
I ran out of treats. I'm going to go after I get off the live. Take you for a walk, and then I'll go run to the store and get you more.
The things that we get blamed for with all that Birmingham stuff, white people, that we're getting blamed for stuff with that we had nothing to do with. That was all bureaucratic stuff. The city leaders and the people that owned property up there and all. We get blamed for having white privilege and all this stuff. It had nothing to do with it. Never owned the first slave.
Well,
it's fucking
that's-
retarded.
That's what I keep getting at with the whole JQ thing is like, yes, there are families that are Jewish that, had a lot of money, that have controlled our, financial systems. That the average Jewish person, take like Sarah Silverman or whatever, making dumb jokes, or Adam Sandler, or, whoever you want to pick, or Arby, like, we ain't any special people. We're just as, the low, shitty average people as everybody else.
It
Just trying
was
to get through the
episode
day.
74. Episode
Okay.
74.
That's it, Wanda. That's it.
I dropped the link, but it's not well put together.
How many people here knows the term Hegelian dialectic?
It sounds
You know,
familiar. I swear I've heard it before, but I cannot remember off the top of my head.
Problem calls solution.
Yes.
Yeah.
I knew it sounded familiar.
Those in charge set up a problem,
Mm-hmm.
and then they do things to cause the problem to arise between the people. That's us and the blacks, and us and the Asians, and everybody, the men and the women, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they swoop in with a solution that gives them more power, and nobody's the wiser.
Yeah.
That's exactly how this works. And people need to understand that the very people that will excuse things one day are the very people that'll tell you the next day, no, don't do that no more. Don't do that no more. They're very hypocritical. Right? The very people in the media telling you not to sexualize women are the very people that have no problem with it sexualizing women in your sports events, wrestling shows, football, selling it online, allowing it on YouTube.
Uh-huh.
But yet they don't mind telling you, oh, no, don't do that.
But then you
Don't
also got the same women, the feminists out there screaming, quit sexualizing me.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I can't stand them.
Yeah.
And then you have that one that's like, sexualize me. Oh.
Oh, yeah, the ones who yeah, oh my God.
Your government, their government will tell you one day to accept this, and the next day, nope, go against that. I had a clip from All in the Family from back in the 70s where Archie was talking about the Democrats were on the warpath for people to, stop buying, stop buying gasoline cars or something.
Oh, yes. I saw a rerun of it. God, I'm talking late 80s. I saw a rerun, but I've never
Something
seen the
like that.
original airing.
They incentivize people to go out and buy this stuff years ago because they convinced you needed it. And then years later, now they're telling you don't need it anymore to go to something else. Same people, right? Same people that sold you all this propane and gasoline for decades is now the same people telling you, no, we're going to electric, we're going to EV. You don't need all that stuff no more. Why is
Also,
that?
Let's go back to horse and buggy.
to what Art was saying here, this is definitely, I've listened to a lot of discussions about this, and people talk about, does politics work its way up, or does it work its way down? And I very much believe that it works its way down as opposed to up.
Yeah,
Yep.
they're all corrupt, brother. Every last one of them. Every last one of them.
Yeah, but when we sit there and
hey-
call it out, we're the crazy ones. We're the paranoid. We're the schizos. We're the anti-government nut jobs.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Hey,
all
Gutter, just FYI, I don't know why, but on Talk Studio here, when you mute yourself, if you don't mute your actual physical mic, we can still hear you. So
still hear you?
I can hide you on stream if you want, and then you can just give me a heads up when you need to come back up. Cowboy wants to come on. He can have 2 minutes, and if he loses it, he's going back down.
Okay.
Oh, he's going to lose it because he's pissed off.
Okay, well, he's got his 2 minutes, or and if he can't control himself, he can go back down.
Okay. If I hear a word hit for getting off no, that okay.
I mean, like I say, I'm just trying to give everybody an opportunity, and I'm not trying to start fights with people. If you have,
I know. I'm not making you of you.
okay, well, if you have a personal issue with somebody, you can take it up with them on your own time privately.
Yeah, I will.
More jobs than there's a choice.
Anyway.
Where to close for the job you want. But yeah, no. So like I was saying, to what Art was saying before, I've been, I've listened to a lot of different discussions from people, and I've definitely come to the perspective that things don't come naturally in society. That things are driven by elite or by people with power. And so this is why I kept saying, like, I know that, there are people that don't like Elon Musk or whatever, but the reality is that, part of what has created the ability for, these issues like USAID and whatnot to become, more in the public awareness is because somebody with the influence like Elon is, pushing it out there. And, even if I don't think he's always, perfect, or even if I don't think he's got everything, sees things the way I do, or, whatever, at least on some level, people are being receptive to this. I mean, look, he's pissed me off because I think he's throwing a bunch of information out there that he doesn't even really recognize or understand himself, because he ain't doing these damn audits. He's just playing on Twitter and running a organization. And you can still, you can see some of the people that are pushing the information, like that account that's gone viral, the Data Republican woman.
Right.
And so I've lost a lot of respect for someone like Elon Musk, because it's been very clear to me that he is being influenced by what he sees and not necessarily looking deeper into it. And what was very telling about this to me was when I read that government efficiency office report about the Medicare, Medicaid waste. And then 2 days later, I see him posting about how there's $100 billion a year worth of, waste from Medicare, Medicaid. And I'm like, no, he didn't do that audit in 2 days. He's just repeating what somebody has showed him from the government efficiency office. But again, if that's going to actually get out there publicly and make influence, I think it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's how people choose to use this stuff.
Right.
Well, he's never going to be able to audit all that shit himself. Do you really think he could possibly audit all that shit himself?
He's got a whole
I have
team.
no clue.
They need to be more when they talk about audit of they be talking about employee payment. We talk about working programs, or we can talk about the that what I am with when it comes to Elon, because he will give a broad, and I went on the third website, and it doesn't go into a whole lot of detail on what they found. It tells you how much money they believe it away.
Well, to me, no, there's not a lot of detail in there. Just giving you some random number, and this is why I'm just kind of letting it be and not getting too deep into it. Other than kind of watching what happens. But I think that really fundamentally, we can cut some waste here and there, but what we really need to change is how government functions and how we approach it. And that's why I'm very, it's very easy for them to go, okay, we're getting rid of USAID and we're just going to transfer this into some other, government department to do the same thing. I mean, I do think that there's value in having, a soft power influence on even just your sphere of influence, if not the entire world, as a country. But it can't be an ideological thing like, what you're seeing with this USAID stuff, where you have, them doing CIA crap where they fundamentally try to change other countries through controlling legislatures and controlling politicians and controlling news so that they can install their, own government or whatever that they want that's pro-America. I mean, I see that. I see a lot of that seems to look like that went on in Ukraine from, 2014 and on, and seems like a lot of that happened in Venezuela over the years, and in Brazil with them going and creating their not CIA but CIA run version of Twitter down there. I mean, I can't recommend those Mike Benz podcasts that I posted last week. He was on, earlier in the week, whatever. I don't know. Is it this week, next week, whatever, how you would call it? But I think he did them on Thursday. And one was on the Joe Rogan podcast, and one was on the Sean Ryan podcast. He talked about different stuff on each of them. Those were fascinating. And I think he's one of the best examples, or one of the people that's kind of got the most handle on all this USAID soft power manipulation stuff. Go ahead, Calma.
I have worked with a lot of people in my career that have dealt with USAID, and the deal with USAID is, they do a lot of good work, but there are a whole lot of unnecessary risk that USA, at least in that how we get into proxy wars, because the people who hand out the aid are mostly contractors, Red Cross, private military, and they're going through a political country environment, and that get America involved, because now you got US people on the ground, even they're not military. I know a woman that went to Haiti, and they all the local did not
Listen, I don't discount that there are probably some good things, and I've seen some things that have been cut by USAID that we're doing that I'm not necessarily a huge fan of. But I think we need to be more honest with the American people. I mean, there was that quote that I posted on Discord and I posted on your stream last week sometime from the first director of the National Endowment for Democracy, Crazy B, talking about how, and they did it all in public. It was, 1991 article from in Washington Post talking about how, they interview him and he's talking about how we do what the CIA used to do, I don't think there's anything wrong with doing foreign aid when it makes sense. I don't think there's anything wrong with trying to improve your sphere of influence and bring it up. I don't think there's anything wrong with expressing soft power. Obviously, you take care of home first, but I don't think any of those things are inherently bad. But when you manipulate people directly by calling it USAID and then running around being USAID, oh, we can't take away aid, when most of what it's doing is soft power, because we took away that, you know, from the CIA after scandals in the 80s and 90s coming out. Like, that's no better. I don't look, there's a guy that I follow on Twitter over on the trans stuff who is very upset about it because he cares deeply about like AIDS and, you know, the AIDS work in Africa that have been limited or getting cut because of USAID. And I totally see his perspective, and it makes a lot of sense to me how he feels. And I would hope that, you know, some of these programs that are effective and useful could be reinstated in a better way. But there's a difference between being honest about being a soft power pusher to benefit us and, you know, claiming to be foreign aid, when half of what's going on here is that, you know, we're giving stuff to NGOs that are just funding people's campaigns and people's family members in the DC bubble.
Not only that, but AID is not all about giving aid. It's about property wars. Like, a lot of it, like, a lot more property wars are coming out of USAID because it's a political, it's a political agency, and it doesn't, all it does is get people, Americans, killed in a country that we got no business being in.
Well, that, and remember, USAID was a executive order started by JFK.
Yeah,
And
it
just
doesn't
went
matter
from
though,
there.
because Congress, you know, passed.
Congress took over and hijacked it.
Well, they passed it
Yeah.
as an actual agency, so this is why
Yeah.
they're going to run into issues with just ending it from an executive order. But I don't know that necessarily. Look, this stuff is all going to go through the courts. It is all going through the courts, but it doesn't mean they can't influence what it does from an executive standpoint. I mean, look, I hate that our government has turned into a tyranny of the executive that changes every 4 years or 8 years or whatever,
Oh yeah.
as opposed to being run like a through legislation.
I'm tired of hearing about property wars and because I know a lot of private contractors that have go there and it like it really takes a toll because it like they're going to war, but it's not a war. It's human aid, but somehow a combat happens. I hear that a lot.
Well, here's why I say, look, I respect individuals and their choices, but this is why it's a proxy war. So take Ukraine and Russia, and this is gonna, okay, I'm a bad person for saying this, but the West went over there in 3 months in, a year in, when Ukraine was probably in its best positions that it was ever going to be in, and stopped them from trying to negotiate. That there's plenty of stories that talk about how Boris Johnson went over there on behalf of NATO and the Trump administration, or not Trump, Biden administration, and told them not to negotiate. And now you have Trump, who actually seems motivated to try to create peace in the world on some level. And maybe I'm wrong about that, but at least that's what it appears. Even if it means peace through strength and violence or whatever. But the Ukrainians are in a worse position politically and militarily than they were 2 years ago, or 2.5 years ago, when there was a attempt to sit down at the table and the West stopped it. So back then, by all these people with the flags in their bios and all that, were calling me a Russia shill and all that kind of stuff. But where are we now that they're all saying, oh, we're going to have to actually sit down and talk? And yet, all we had is a few more, hundreds of thousands of lives that are lost and changed forever, even if people are still alive. A country that's even more in ruins. And it's not going to get any better of an outcome than it would have back then.
Yeah.
But how does it benefit the new people that were alone? I don't mind helping other countries. I don't. I feel like as a humanitarian, we can help our fellow humans. But, like, the past, 45 years, we've been hearing, secret operations in Africa, Syria, and it's like, it's like when you would declare war on Africa, and then when crap go wrong, I agree.
Yeah, no, I there's a lot of Western supremacists that don't want to recognize that we have a hand in how the world changes and how other countries act.
Oh, yeah. I've met a few of them.
Is there anybody that's planning on doing any shows or streaming that want to shout themselves out or whatever? Like I said in chat, I'm going to call it in about 10 minutes. My Baxter's reaching his limit. 3.5 hours and I was on here for the computer for an hour beforehand.
I'm probably gonna go live a little bit later. I don't see a reason why I can't. So I'll probably be going on about 5 o'clock. Oh no, we got UFC. Nope. Tomorrow I will. Tomorrow. Right. Tonight's UFC. UFC is a priority.
Like I said, I wanted to give anybody an opportunity to promote whatever they got going on.
Yeah, I don't have nothing coming up.
But anyone who wants to join me on mine at any time, just feel free. Whenever I go live, it's usually between 3 and 5 on Monday through Friday. Well, with the exception of Mondays and Wednesdays because of physical therapy.
Yeah, post a link. I'll come over.
Irby dropped it, and it's it was in the chat.
Well, if you post a link when you go live in I apologize, but I have your announcements page in
muted
Discord muted because
it's loud.
too much. But
Yeah.
if you post a link, I can always repost it in other places on Discord where people are.
Yeah. And it's also on my X account. I post every time I'm going live on X and, well, just about anywhere. My Discord, all of it.
Yeah, and I know Leah's good about posting people's channels too.
Yeah.
And like I said in the chat, I really do appreciate. I love the conversation. I love when people have things to bring to the table. Nobody should feel like they can't offer their thoughts or opinions, even if they disagree. You know, we only grow through exposing ourselves to ideas that you know, we don't think about or that aren't in our, you know,
Comfort zone.
to bring it full circle, in our pre-existing moral frameworks. So, you know, it's the only way we can grow is by exposing ourselves. And you know,
I don't know where the
there's
music's coming from.
anybody that catches this on replay, or anybody wants to do the moral foundations test stuff, you can feel free to post your outcomes. Maybe one of these days we should do the political compass test too.
Oh, that would be fun.
Um,
And everything on my end is frozen, so I can't even say thank you, Leia, for type. I was going to type a thank you to her, but everything's frozen.
yeah, your computer will figure itself out.
Eventually. So
Um,
I don't even know if I'm going to be able to leave.
I can kick you. Don't worry.
Okay.
Don't you worry. I can kick you. Nope. I'm just gonna walk away, and it's gonna become the Crazy Bee and her crazy families show.
You do
forget
not want
stopping
that.
it. I don't know what my timing limit is, but I think I have an unlimited amount of time.
Oh,
Probably like
God.
12 hours, which is like the YouTube limit on the stream. So,
Oh, no,
know,
you do
you're-
not want to deal with my family coming in here.
Look.
Mom, how do I do this? Mom, where's that? Mom.
Crazy Grub thinks he's never gonna be on Discord or on a stream or anything. Little does he know, we're just gonna leave a stream running and, you know, just listen to all of his antics as he wanders in the room.
Yeah, if you want some interesting comments, just jump into my voice chat one day with me or on my streams or listen in, and you'll hear my son come in and just run his mouth, and it is so freaking funny sometimes.
Oh yeah, no, I give him a hard time
yeah.
as I joke around that he's backseat podcasting.
He will not join my Discord server and chat with people directly. It is so funny.
I don't know why. I mean, I wish he would.
You, me, and everybody else in the group, we all wish he would. That kid just don't listen.
Well, maybe one day we'll convince him. I keep
maybe.
telling you, you just need to get some, like, you know, good commies in there for him to argue with, and he'll be all over it.
Yeah.
I wish he would. I wish he would.
I told him I could pretend, but I think he already knows that I wouldn't do a good job pretending.
I don't think you would.
There we go. She gone. Bye, Crazy Bee. You guys, well, look, thanks for hanging out. Andrea, looking dapper as ever in your Daisy Dukes. And she needs to start watching some of your streams so she can cook for you, you know?
I'm telling you.
But yeah, instead of you should make some of those recipes. You can do it.
That's the whole idea behind that show, was to put people on there that cook in real time. I haven't had the first person.
Well, but when are you going to cook in real time?
Yeah, whenever I get the, I need a camera and some stuff to set up. I don't have the equipment to do it.
I know. I keep telling Leah that I'll do a cooking show if but I need to get a tripod for my phone because that's the only camera I have that I could do it. I wouldn't do it live though. I would just, you know, videotape it, edit it. I could premiere it or whatever live, but
right.
But then if you met up, how are we gonna on them you?
Maybe I just don't want to live stream from my kitchen off my phone.
Okay.
That's all. But if I screw up, I'll show you. But the problem is my cooking is simple. Like, I make decent food, but I don't I don't do complicated food. Like I made some roast beef last week, but basically that just involves throwing a spice rub on putting some mustard or whatever as a binder, throwing a spice rub on a piece of meat, sticking it in the fridge to dry brine for 2 days, and then throwing in the oven to cook for a few hours, So you get video of me putting a rub on something, a video of me putting something in the oven, clip of me slicing meat and like making a sandwich. So I don't that's part of why I'm like I don't know if that's entertaining or interesting.
Oh, I think you'll find it will be for a lot of people.
I'll make sure not to wear pants when I do it.
That's like
that'll help.
like nipple tassels might help, things like that.
But no, like this week like I said, I made that roast, and so I've been taking it as breakfast sandwiches, a little egg, some cheese, some roast beef, a bagel, toast it up. I know. I need an intro and an outro. We'll have to convince one of our friends that does music and video editing to help me with that.
Mouse, baby.
Yeah, exactly.
Baby mouse.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, there are some built-in outros on here. Let's see. Or no, are they just intros? I don't know. But yeah, there are built-in intros. I played an intro at the beginning that was just like, one of their random ones. But yeah, everybody have a wonderful day. Thank you for spending some or a decent chunk of your Saturday here with me. I think next week I will probably, if I can get a show together and organize it enough, talk somewhat about building off of what I talked about today, but about how media uses fear to manipulate us and affect political and social outcomes. I've read a few books on it in the past. I just kind of need to organize stuff together into a little bit better of a, presentation, and then do a panel like today. So, if people are around, come join me. And then I don't know what Tuesday. I took a couple days off, the 25th and 26th. So maybe I'll try and join in on some live streams those days if people are doing them. I know Gutter does her show on Tuesday nights, but I don't know if somebody's planning some like coffee club or whatnot those days, but I'll be around a little more.
And Mouse does, I think she's doing Wednesday, and AV and Mouse do like a really early morning Tuesday one. And then I think she does a Wednesday one, and I think she's doing a Thursday one. So she's like all over.
All righty. Well, it was a pleasure. Nice to see everybody. Y'all take care. Have a good week, and call it there.